The president of Korea announces the end of the world after a zombie-inducing asteroid strikes Japan, turning people into bloodthirsty flesh eaters. The apocalypse begins, and panic erupts everywhere. No one knows what to do or where to run. But there's one guy who's more than ready. He's got his own safe shelter in another world, and he's been waiting a long time to crush some zombie asses. That guy is our MC, Seongho. Months ago, Seongho and his friends played Asura, the most difficult virtual survival game ever made. The game was sweaty and difficult to the point most players stopped playing it completely. Seongho's party ditched him with the ultimate betrayal of never logging back in again. He was left alone playing and streaming the game, facing all kinds of monsters, and becoming the best. Sick of his life one day, our boy took off his headgear and deleted all of his public streams. Seongho focused on his life as a chef, and found a cute girl as his favorite customer. He jokingly decides to chant status window in real life, and stuns himself when he actually sees a real blue screen hovering before his eyes. The screen outlines his stats. They're the same from the game he played with one difference. He has a new ability called Private Portal. Testing this ability, Seongho materializes a human-sized warp gate. His mind struggles to comprehend the dangers of this new discovery, because if the game is real, then the meteor that started the apocalypse was also coming. On the web, Seongho frantically stumbles across one such article about the steroid's incoming fall. He refuses to accept that the events of the game are occurring in real life. Our boy stares at the portal before his eyes. First, he received confirmation of the asteroid, and now this portal gate, confirming that something is wrong. Hesitating, he wonders if he should really enter this thing at all. With no powers, no bitches, no plans and money, he contemplates stepping foot inside. In the end, Bro reflects on a few things and grabs the nearest ladle he could find. There, he sticks the ladle inside the portal to get a good feel of what was at the bottom of the other side. After scooping some dirt, he realizes that the other side isn't taking place inside a labyrinth stage of the game. That's a good thing, but he's also starting to wonder if this portal will teleport him to a different location on Earth. Having packed his bags to prepare for the trip, he encourages himself to finally go inside. In the next scene, Bro's past the portal and discovers the beauty of the other side. It's a scenery without anything urban in sight. The first thing this guy notices is just how cold the weather is compared to the usual. With no signal on his phone, this dude analyzes that he's stuck in some kind of remote area that won't be reached by anyone easily. Long story short, Bro's fucked if he's stuck here. Taking out a Sharpie, he marks one of the trees with a number 0. This is actually a smart move on his part, to make sure that he doesn't get too lost in his exploration process. He starts walking and walking, but the walk takes a toll on him. The forest appears endless with nothing in sight. Right when this guy was begging for things to get interesting, a creature glared at him nearby. Instantly, this thing pounced like a predator and scared the crap out of our boy. Luckily, it's just a gorgeous valley deer and not some kind of flesh-eating monster. An interesting detail is that the system automatically identified this unique creature for him, confirming that this place is in fact separate from the realm of Earth. The creature stares at him before dashing away without a word. Not that I expected this thing to start talking or anything, but you get what I mean. Even our protagonist thinks that it's weird for this thing to just peace out like that. The good thing is that the deer wasn't aggressive. However, things are going to get really fudging ugly for him if he runs into bloodthirsty monkeys or boars. One more interesting detail is that the valley deer never even existed in the Sura game. Right after arriving here, he had a striking hunch that this realm is related to survival life and its concepts. Taking out a blade, he walks forward, preparing himself for anything that will come out and startle him. So far, he's denied the reality of a disaster heading to end humanity. But right when he was about to give up, he found it. His eyes glanced at the shining sun apple, a mystical fruit that he plucked from the tree. First, he wonders if biting it is okay. Then he takes an actual bite and experiences immediate change. The system informs him of his stamina restoration, and his body shimmers with a yellow glow. Its effects are actually the same as the sun apple juice they used to drink in the game. With one more thing serving as pure confirmation, our boy is now convinced that something terrible is soon about to happen. Bro was also shitting next to goblin poop, which means he has to be careful. Seongho takes a worrisome sigh, trying to strengthen his morale. But despite his beliefs, he now knows that the end of the world is soon to come. After experiencing the portal gate's effects, he exited it and went back to his original world. Here, Seongho began brainstorming solutions. He wanted to be ready for the apocalypse to come. So the first thing he did was review all of the footage of the game and stored it in a personal hard drive. Conveniently, he actually streamed the game every time he played it, so he could easily save that data, though he never even expected to use it like this one day. News of the asteroid's fall reached him. The Japanese destruction would begin in 32 days alongside the start of the apocalypse. Until then, he decided to prepare because the game was unfortunately full of the worst mechanics ever. The craziest and problematic of them all was something called Iron Death Disease. This little phenomenon resulted in the corrosion and destruction of every piece of metal on Earth. Buildings ravaged to dust, and it aided the zombie swarm hours after it happened. With the obliteration of metal in modern-day society, humanity returned to the Stone Age. The Iron Death Disease eventually subsided in the game, but the main problem was the fact that it literally lasts for an entire year. Even then, the incoming Iron Death Disease didn't mean much to our boy, who had a safe solution to access his private portal thanks to his newly acquired trait. Of course, Seongho has a very strong assumption that the disease will be incapable of passing through the portal. Wrapping up his analysis, he chalked up all of the money he saved to buy premium tier equipment. Bro was about to enter a Call of Duty zombie apocalypse lobby in real time, so he got all the gear and supplies for survival. Checking the forums at night, Seongho found himself disappointed by the few people who abused their awakened abilities for a life of crime and enjoyment. Morning came around. He bought more supplies to aid his eventual mission. On the way back, bro even bought a hunting bow for surety. While doing all of this, he faced a realization. Seongho thought that maybe he was overthinking all of this. Maybe he was getting ahead of himself and acting hastily. Still, he thought he could earn all his savings back eventually, even if he was wrong. With his morning errands completed, he returned home and put up a closing sign on his shop. Seongho was in the middle of his thoughts when he suddenly heard someone's voice. Temu Chahain from Solo Leveling worriedly asks about the closed shop. He tells her that it's just for some remodeling work, which makes her wonder if he scored it big time and earned a lot of money. Seongho quickly exits the conversation by stating that he's got some work to do, but suddenly she stops him and tries to ask a question. The girl ends up flustered and doesn't actually state her request, turning back to leave. Seongho is curious about her question, and though he could have easily pushed her for an answer, he went back to his business. Inside, he vowed to take things seriously and work on stuff that actually mattered. Bro really said, I'm gonna ignore baddies and lock in for real. He commands open the portal, reflecting on his actual game style. One could call him a playmaker or a planner, a guy who loves using strategies to overcome each stage. He wasn't exactly a powerful combatant and mostly relied on his brains. The reason is actually simple. In Sura, there's a complicated way of earning stats. You don't just acquire them after level ups. You only acquire them after hunting and exploring. Right now, our boy is in the other realm trying to hone his skills with the bow. Clearly with no practice and teaching before, bro uses YouTube tutorials to teach himself. Seongho postures himself correctly and takes aim to shoot. A side of him from the game is reflected in his experience until he eventually lets go of the shot. The arrow flings its way to the board, hitting the target. Bro is actually stunned by his talent to the point he thinks he's the chosen one. However, with how sore his hand is, Seongho realizes that his real drawback is his strength. That's why he wants to focus on working out and boosting his physical endurance. With basic preparations wrapped up, he would now move to the next step. Immediately, he needed to take care of two things. The first was to outline a way to hunt down monsters properly. The second was to build a home base where he could store supplies without worry. However, at the moment, he had no weapons and absolutely no supplies because they were in the process of delivery. Until then, he hunted golden apples and went crazy with his luck running into them. Having marked a few spots, he taught himself to prepare for the apocalypse to come. His early preparation is the same reason he survived in Sura for as long as he did. Looking around, Seongho runs into Goblin Waste. He'd been meaning to find it, merely for a simple goal. The thing about goblins is that they love acting in groups. The fact that only one piece of shit was on the ground, and I mean that literally, tells him that there's one around here. Poop Inspector Pro Max interacts with the waste and judges that the goblin must be an outcast. Seongho knows this guy will be his golden ticket. He's got to hunt him down as best he can. By night, his search for the lone goblin continued. He heard wolves nearby, which signifies that he's closer to the valley, and then he spots the same goblin he was looking for. Seongho hid behind a tree, but he could see that this thing looks identical to the creatures of the game. Now, goblins are supposed to be the lowest grade of monsters. Their only weapons are spears and poisonous darts. They're best known for mutilating their opponents and torturing them. It's actually the very reason our boy chose a long-ranged weapon, a bow, for his first choice. From the looks of things, the goblin is old and in shit condition. It doesn't have any weapons, so Seongho instantly whips his bow. He knows that if he can maintain his calm, he'll kill this thing. Upon the release of the bow, the arrow shoots right through the goblin's arm, piercing its arm. Seongho aimed for its head, but he's happy with the result. Utilizing this advantage, he tries to take his second shot, but the goblin throws a stone so hard that his weapon is launched out of his hands. Seongho realizes that he's dealing with a mature and experienced goblin. Both of them prepare their blades for close quarters combat. The ultimate showdown between Sung Jinwoo and Beru begins. Shit, wait, wrong story. Seongho loads his knife and tries to slash the goblin's side. The experienced goblin dodges and smacks our boy's kneecap pretty damn hard. Taking things to the ground, Seongho tackles the goblin, forcing it on its back. Here he has the clear advantage. Seongho takes the blade and plunges it deep inside the creature's chest, causing it to scream in pain. Eventually, the light from its eyes fades. The first kill has been successful, and Seongho acquires 2 points because of it. He can't even believe that he managed to do what he did. Scanning his environment, he finds guaca powder and vegetable oil nearby. In the game, combining these results in an ointment. But first, he needed to dig up fast. It's far too dangerous to let this goblin rot outside, because the group could find it and hunt Seongho because of it. Leaving it to rot isn't a good idea either, because it will turn into something called a bone creeper. Seongho finds a pair of red trouts nearby. Seongho's heart trembles as he realizes he's fucked. The moment he averts his gaze, Bro discovers the creepiest owl monster staring down at him. Before this segment, we go back to Seongho's runs in the game when he was a player. During his streams, he compiled a bunch of material insight for the game. Some of his chat members donated money just for him to dive right into the goods. Seongho got into the bottom of it and described his experience with goblins and kobolds last time. Avoiding bone creeper is essential as well, but the forest houses 2 of the most dangerous creatures in the game. These are werewolves and owlbears. Owlbears are territorial creatures, which means their existence creates harmony in the monster ecosystem. Remembering the era of streaming, Seongho found warmth in his heart. There was this one guy, Bullsungman, who was always happy for him. The others were chill and a bit weird, like Barking Dog Dude who just couldn't stop typing woof in chat for some reason. Strangely enough, Seongho wonders why he's facing such happy memories. Is it because he's staring down the incarnation of literal horror before him? A creature that was going to end his life. Seongho refuses to accept reality. It's as if those memories are telling him to concentrate. He uses every moment at his disposal to think of a plan. He already knows that the owlbears are damn near vicious and tear apart anything in front of them. The fact that the creature is standing still without doing anything implies that it isn't as hungry. But the more important thing getting on his nerves right now is that they've invaded the territory of the red trout. With all of these important factors considered, Seong-ho realizes that there's possibly only one way for him to escape this nightmarish situation. Turning his feet, he reminds himself that he's still the Kimbap Joa in his head, even if his body is the lowly physique of Kang Seong-ho. Gritting his teeth, he challenges the monster to face him, a final declaration of his will to survive. The creature eyes him down, initiating its terrorizing first attack. The owlbear is especially great at hunting at night, but its main weakness is direct sunlight. Having memorized its patterns in the game, Seong-ho knows that he only has to execute to save his life. Matching the timing of the beast's attack, Seong-ho excellently evades the slash, and at the same time thinks of a way to create some kind of light effect to terrify the monster. Bursting with speed, he runs up the creature's huge arm, before finally whipping out a flashlight and blinding its eyes point blank. This effect is so traumatizing for even a predator like the owlbear that it is completely blinded. The next scene cuts to our boy rotting in his bed as his alarm rings. He knows he has to get back up, even after his body is sore as shit after last night. Seong-ho passed out right after returning home. His last memory is him running for his life after blinding the monster. As luck would have it, he ran it into an owlbear right after facing a goblin. Bro doesn't want to deal with that shit again and tries to get up to eat something. He kisses the floor with a thud, realizing that his legs are annihilated after that cardio. Luckily, he's still got those golden apples from the other realm. Seong-ho grabs one and takes a bite, instantly rejuvenating his stamina with its effects. Finally, he feels more alive than ever before, wondering if he should now properly satiate his stomach. But after tidying himself up, Bro ends up running into Temu Cha-hein again. She's come here to eat in a different restaurant and coincidentally ran into him. Seong-ho wasn't looking for company, but she sat here because she likes having a meal buddy. Mik-young hurriedly asks him if he tried opening the status window. Her enthusiastic attitude makes Seong-ho realize that this must be the topic she wanted to discuss last time, but stopped herself from. Mik-young shows him the news and assures him that it's real. Some awakened players are actually using their powers to steal money from others. Seong-ho is a little startled by her confidence to ask something like that directly. He answers her by lying and saying that nothing showed up. The thing is, Seong-ho feels like he's doing the right favor by keeping others blind about his status. First of all, his trait is strategic and not combat-focused. It's something he can utilize to the best of his advantage, instead of sharing with others. Right now, not even his personal safety is guaranteed. If he ends up revealing his hand to the lady in the red dress, which in this case is her, then things could really end up badly for him. It's a smart play. However, the dude is intrigued how Mik-young is taking so much interest in asking about awakening. Then comes a surprise from her. She hesitates and even admits to stating a lie. Seong-ho assumes good intentions from her and even assures her that she doesn't have to say anything. He encourages her that there's still time and heads home shortly after their conversation. Finally, his delivery packages arrived. Stuff he ordered came and now he didn't need to worry about supplies. He moved his stuff up to the rooftop and only kept important stuff on the second floor. During his preparation work, he selected a whole bunch of items necessary for today's mission. Stuff like gas masks and suits and other equipment. For his upcoming mission, our boy intends to find a proper location to use as a hideout. It's necessary for him to build a home base, hence the purpose of the axe. Passing through the portal, Seong-ho faces his first lead in finding a hideout. He accidentally discovered a goblin cave while looking for the old goblin. Recalling its location, he travels to that exact same spot and finds it. It's a pretty convenient spot to hide, one that is perfect for his plans. However, first he needed to verify the kind of monsters that lived here. Seong-ho scans the environment and finds tiny footprints of kobolds passing by. This is actually a discovery to celebrate, because these guys aren't any trouble at all. Seong-ho had already come here with a plan against any low-level monsters to begin with, so he had nothing to worry about. The thing about kobolds is that they're nocturnal creatures. They're currently sleeping, so our boy's plan is to suffocate them inside. First, he gathers a bunch of firewood by cutting some branches. Afterwards, he places the collected group at the entrance. The next idea is to spill gasoline all over it. Seong-ho thought he was going to clear this mission with no trouble because all he had to do now was light up a fire. But then he shockingly heard their noise. They came out of their slumber and immediately locked eyes with their next meal. Seong-ho gently greets them before whipping his axe and lunging forth into action. In a simple swing, he slashes both monsters around their necks, killing them immediately. The reason they went down so easily is because of the drowsiness from earlier. Thanks to these consecutive kills, the system awards him with an increase in level and 4 points. Next, Seong-ho tosses the lighter in the firewood. Shortly after, the fumes start to go inside. In the Asura game, low-level monsters had one glaring weakness. They were vulnerable to new things, and this was one of them. Our boy waited with a gas mask outside. Though he could have tried to burn them directly, this method was even more effective with the cleanup process. The slumbering kobolds frantically woke up and ran outside to save themselves. Seong-ho intentionally chose this strategy to weaken their bodies and create confusion among their escape. The moment they stepped outside, his objective was to take advantage while they were down to kill them at once. Though he expected at least 5 of them to come out, Seong-ho is stunned that only 4 did. This is different from their usual group of 7. Aiming at one of the kobolds, Seong-ho slaughters it dead, declaring that only 3 of them now remain. The remaining 3 ran up to him, doing what little they could do to attack. But our boy was ready with his axe. This man was swinging home runs with the weapon and taking them down. Another kobold tries to attack, but the all-powerful fart spray of death blinds him point blank. Before it could even do anything, Seong-ho helped cut off its head. With just one final one left, our boy stares down at their leader fidgeting in fear. He has become the hunter and declares their end, promising to make good use of their hideout. The bloodbath ends at last, with Seong-ho fatigued on the ground. His lack of stamina is the real drawback right now, even though they were easy to beat. The system stats, interestingly, are no different than from the game, even the debuff section from the exhaustion state. Status points not increasing after level up is the same too. Still, leveling up will eventually unlock shop items for him, so that's good on its own. Right now, the most convenient thing is that he can use a private space of his own. But as much as our boy wanted to have a clean environment inside, he found himself disappointed with the mess the kobolds made. With a hideout secured, cleaning operations began. This dude had to clear so much of goblin shit that he got tired of it. Cleaning up so much felt like a pain in the ass, especially after having cleared a proper fight. Seong-ho cursed at the shitty creatures for living in garbage. Still, he had nothing to worry about anymore with a new home base. Seong-ho returns to his side of the world every time he needs to take out the trash. That was a benefit, but still it took him so much time to clean up. The one thing that surprises him the most is discovering how easy it is to use items between dimensions. So he used a pipe from one side and activated it on the other, even astonishing himself with how well it works. Hours of effort aside, the place is now glittering with cleanliness. Next, he needs to clear bloodstains and work on pouring concrete, so storing stuff is easier. He thinks about the complications of mortar and using sandwich panels. But the one good thing about this shitty cave is that it is full of luminous and ignition stones. These are newbie stones in the game, but the place is full of them, so that's good. Seong-ho now has a reason to mine this place properly after construction. The following day, Bro is at the edge of his life. He's working so hard every day that his body is aching all over. Checking his arm, he surprises himself with the few cuts he endured. His collected items from the other realm rest on the table side. Seong-ho wonders if he should make an ointment using this as an opportunity. The method's pretty simple. In goes the guaca powder and vegetable with equal ratio, then some stirring, and there we have it. A low-level ointment for basic healing. Thanks to our boy's background in cooking, the chef has an easier time making these. Just applying the ointment on his arm feels like a step in progress. However, Seong-ho is troubled with the realization that he might have to make it again and again. He contemplates the idea of raising his stats by focusing on fundamentals, but then again he's risking his life so much that he could even die before the damn apocalypse arrives. Even though that would be funny as shit, Seong-ho doesn't want to take the risk and thinks of using a more convenient weapon like a gun. Suddenly a thought clicks his head. There is definitely something he could use. Separated from the main storyline of the game, we have its background lore. But the big question is, will that background lore even apply to the incoming apocalypse? Utilizing that information, Seong-ho calls his thoughts, hoping for the backstory events to occur, because they'll benefit him in unimaginable ways. With a new plan created, this guy goes up to the rooftop for the construction materials he ordered. Opening the portal gate, our boy starts tossing these bags to the other side one by one. After that, he went ahead to pick some other items, then went down to the first floor. Here, he was about to move a pile of packages when suddenly that same girl popped up again. Seong-ho is starting to wonder if she's getting too comfortable with him at this point. Bro says it straight to her face, causing her embarrassment. He assures her that he's just busy with remodeling work, and she thinks he's telling the truth. What surprises her is that he hasn't come in for his regular haircut every 3 months. Seong-ho remembers yes, and also understands that a haircut is needed for the incoming exploration. So he drops what he's doing and goes to her shop. Here, Bro is looking like a Korean version of Moist Critical. He orders her to shave it all off, the buzz cut Sigma arc. Surprised, she decides to carry out his request. What intrigues her is how Seong-ho's shoulders have gotten broader. I mean, let's be honest, no girl is ever gonna say that for real. He tells her he's been working out, while Mik-young talks about the status window being related to the game's survival life. Awakeners are people who have played the game at least once. All this time, Seong-ho plays dumb and agrees with everything, but he also curiously asks about her source of information. Suddenly, one tatted dude enters the shop, revealing that he's here for the new intel. Hilariously, this guy happens to have fought Seong-ho in the past, but only in a singing competition. Our boy is pissed that this clown happens to be her source of information. The blonde hair tells her that a certain someone deleted the streams and only keeps information for himself. It's an awkward moment because this guy even announces that he's trying to dox the player's real location. Seong-ho is really curious about this mystery person. In-hack name drops Kimbap Joa, which was Seong-ho's username. This complicates things already, because now our boy knows that people are genuinely out there hunting him down. In-han forces the young lady to be bold and to join their team. Seong-ho thinks the whole situation is stupid. The only reason he deleted the video is simply because he was disappointed. He never had any time to think about personal benefits. Anyway, this punk is a know-it-all wannabe who talks big game. He even curses at Seong-ho for ditching everyone without publicly posting information of his streams, not knowing that the very same guy he's currently hunting is sitting in front of him. Seong-ho wonders if the community's reaction is the same as well. This makes him wonder if he should really change course and share information. Bro personally gets up to personally confront In-hak, scolding him for ruining his haircut in the middle of a session. In-hak tries to play Mr. Tough Guy with our boy, but Seong-ho glares at the midget with murderous eyes, ordering him to get lost quickly unless he wants to be humiliated again. Intimidated, the punk exits the shop as the lady bids him farewell. Mik-young feels relieved. Seeing her in distress, our boy asks for her number. only because he thinks this guy is genuinely a clown who could threaten her life. Back at home, our boy is looking like a model with his new look. First, he focused on his username and decided to look up information in the forum. What he found was alarming. The whole forum was flooded with curses and swears directed at him. He was receiving endless hate until he actually ended up finding the username of Inhak. The clown even used a nickname despite having full verification accessible on the website. His entire page was flooded with negative commentary about our boy. A true hater and redditor in spirit, body, and soul, Seongho switches off his computer, knowing that it's the only appropriate reaction. He wasn't mentally affected, just disappointed. But then, his brain felt a strange sense of calm as he commanded the portal. He spent the next 2 days refining his hideout, working on mining and construction. The pickaxe helped him, and then he spread the mortar with water, smoothing it evenly each day. With work finished, he comes out waiting for the mortar to dry. During this moment, he stares at the lonely moon. Suddenly, Seongho realized that he had to respond to this injustice and level of cruelty. He's not some kind of hero, and he's not looking for a grandiose purpose in life. His ultimate goal is ultimate survival. That's all that matters, as long as he's winning. Making his resolution, he turns around and finds himself frightened. There's a bone creeper clanking up to him. Seongho was already pissed off, so he's finally found a target to focus his attention on. A loud explosion follows, engulfing everything in flames. The next time our boy wakes up, he's covered in scratches. He doesn't even know what the hell happened just now. But then he remembered the sight of the bone creeper. The one part boggling his mind is how he was able to survive from a point-blank explosion. But that's got an answer too. Right after he spotted the bone creeper, Seongho already knew the fucker was about to explode to bits. So he ran for it, but the detonation still caught up to him, knocking him with enough force to go unconscious and not die. However, that little move back there did cost him too. Seongho is full of pricks stabbed on his right side. Mustering what little strength he has, he calls the status window to help. The system stats have taken a decrease because of his current state, but thanks to the creature's destruction, he gets points for its defeat. A ringing headache is starting to take over, burdening Seongho's senses. Expending his final ounce of energy, he commands open the portal. In the next scene, the first thing he did was treat his wounds. This involves removing the bone fragments from the creature. Those were painful to remove, and it hurt him like hell removing them. The ointment worked out its wonders, helping him stop the bleeding. Checking his condition after bandaging it further, Seongho resultantly ended up unconscious. That was his limit for the day. The following morning, dawn breaks and our boy is back up. He thinks he's at the verge of dying any day now. His immediate worry is to check if his wounds are healed, so he pops open the status window. The system seems to be saying he's fine, so that's good. He gets up and ponders the question of how a damn bonehead even found him in the first place. First of all, the forest is seriously vast, so it's not unlikely for creatures to come out of hiding like that suddenly. This alarms him to focus more on honing his perception stat, which would boost his detection abilities. The only ways to increase such stats in the game is by using stat points, of course. These are acquired via hunting or exploration experience. One other way to boost stats is to use equipment or weapons that boost the user. The only problem? Asura fucking sucks as a game and its difficulty is off the charts. Even to obtain simple stat items, one has to take on dangerous monsters way higher than your own level. This means going up against hellish beasts just for a weapon. After defeating monsters, skills could also be unlocked. High-level monsters especially dropped them based on certain conditions, except not every skill suited every player. So now Seongho wonders of a way, a surefire way for him to acquire stat-boosting items. He decides to run the footage back to the background story he visited in the game. Such stories take place before the asteroids fall on Earth. This means that visiting such places could land you special items before the apocalypse even comes around. But that's just a theory, a game theory, get it? Seongho knows that he's got to fight stronger monsters too for that matter. He spends the next few hours just reading up on past information, and learns about 3 important locations where the background stories took place. The Russian ship, the Hobgoblin, and one other. The Jiri Mountain Orc incident, the fastest of the bunch. According to the footage, the orc was discovered on the 26th, so he's got to depart on the 25th to find it early. With his next mission in sight, our boy grabs his phone and realizes that Mikyung's calling him at a late hour. In the next scene, the two are at a cafe. She asks about his condition, questioning why he chose to wear a long-sleeve shirt in the hot summer. Bro has to hide his wounds and realizes that this woman is much more observant than she seems. She thinks that he's bothered by the incident at the shop, but Seongho denies anything like that. She's happy to hear, expressing how scared she felt. Seongho reminds her of just last winter where this guy caused trouble by using an illegally modified tow truck. Then he began fighting weak people. Long story short, he's a shitty human. Mikyung is stunned to hear this news, having no intel on this guy previously, but our boy begs her to stay away from him. Seongho then directly asks the reason she invited him out. The cute young lady crops up in his ear and reveals that she is actually awakened. Seongho has no idea why she even revealed such sensitive information. Playing along naturally, he acts jealous that he didn't get the same luck. She feels bad for lying to him, but he assures her that it's okay. Concluding their meeting, he gets up to leave. Seongho is happy to be entrusted with that information, and admits that he feels better because of her words. Before leaving, he leaves a little clue by stating his interest in the survival life game, having full intention of studying the game now. Coming back home, Seongho admits that he genuinely feels happy finding people like her with good character. He checks the stores and actually ends up purchasing cool-ass drones and even a rental car for navigation. Then he heads right to his bed to recover for the next day. The next day did come around. The moment dawn broke, he began making materials for hunting the orcs. In his home base, he crushed and refined ignition stones. They had to be handled precisely, otherwise they would flare up with an incorrect hit. Next, he set his sights on the luminous stone. Mining them blinds you with their light, but it's good, so he keeps on doing it. After grinding both, he creates powder from them. This completes his setup for the mission. Next, he pours sugar, gasoline, and organic solvents. The last ingredient is a hardening agent for the ignition stone to solidify. Thanks to his dimensional gate having flexible coordinates, he could easily set up a desk without difficulty. Before leaving, he wraps up all his luggage in his rental car, satisfied with his purchase. With the goods secured, Seong-ho drives his way to Jiri Mountain to kill the orcs. He arrives at the Yungsunri campground parking lot before 12 a.m., spending the remaining time during image training and keeping his equipment safe. When the clock hits 12 a.m., he starts with his full-scale search. 2 hours later, the rain has gotten worse and the mist created by the rain makes it difficult to see ahead. He wonders where the orcs come out from the earth, as he has already taken a look around the campground. He thinks that the precursor phenomenon doesn't occur in real life, but suddenly his thoughts are cut off by a loud roar. Panicking, he looks behind him, where the sound came from. It is a dark, shadowy figure approaching him. Our boy realizes it's an orc, and not an ordinary one. It's a red orc subspecies, which means a skill drop is guaranteed. Kang Seong-ho tries to calm himself down while firing a cracker. If everything goes according to his planning, he can definitely capture it. The method he came up to deal with orcs is simple. The first step is to use the orc's aggression to draw its aggro. When the orc is distracted by the flare of the firecracker and begins to attack it with its axe, that is the moment to seize the opportunity. Aim at the orc and instantly open the portal, and instantly grab and open a flashbang. Due to the intense light, it will take around 20 seconds for the orc to bring back its vision. It creates a race with time. Then, destroy the orc's muscles, which have gotten loose due to the effect of the status, to completely make his movements drop drastically. The orc screams out of rage and uses its axe to attack on our hero to crush him. But swiftly, our guy bends down when the axe is about to hit him, dodging the attack. Then, he takes his knife and stabs the foot of the orc. The moment the orc's foot is stabbed, it yells in pain and drops to its knees. When the eye level of the orc and our protagonist's is the same, he will shove down the already made flame can into its mouth. As soon as the can goes in the mouth of the orc, it explodes. Soon, our boy begins to celebrate his victory. Suddenly, the orc's fist lands a punch on our guy, sending him flying back. He gets up, knowing he shouldn't have let his guard down already. He looks at the orc stepping his way with his upper body lit on fire, but it doesn't look like it would survive. Our boy is sure that he's about to meet his end by getting minced by the orc soon. Right then, his system notifies him that his level has risen to level 3, and he just got 10 more points, getting the skill, Will to Survive. He gets up, saying to himself he's unable to handle this, wondering where the drop item is while some light shines on his wrist. He looks at his wrist, and the drop item he gets is a watch perception. He sighs in relief because it would have been such a hassle to find the drop item in the rain. He steps near the dead orc, his head fuming, wondering what to do with it. He thinks to himself that the Jirisan orc incident was under an embargo. He then wonders if it's the right thing to do by realizing the information, because the situation can get bad. Thinking about what Mi Kyung said to him about the Awakened are the people who have played that game at least once, which just means one thing: there must be several thousand people who have awakened. Even if a small minority of them are guys like Oh and Hawk, they will cause the collapse of the system and laws for personal gain and cause chaos to erupt. Right now, the biggest problem is, he can't leave the dead orc by itself, or else it will become a bone creeper and begin to harm people by tomorrow. Suddenly, a thought crosses his mind. Why didn't he think that he could become a zombie? Even if he's awakened, he could still potentially become a zombie if he got infected by the spores. He can't think of the right thing to do, being unable to make a decision. He opens the portal while he thinks about the few people who will have survived. It is certain that the will deserves an orderly end. Our boy begins to dig a hole in the ground so he can bury the orc he just killed. He gets exhausted soon and wonders how he is going to pull the orc inside. His newly found skill, Will to Survive, activates, as it gets triggered by exhaustion into completing the task right away. The hero soon begins to finish his job quickly, having no choice but to work as fast as he possibly could. Then, he throws the orc into its grave while being thankful of the skill. After that, he opens the portal and ends up in a moving car. The after effect takes time for his body to recover before he can go back to his regular activity. The next day, he wakes up wondering if the weather he's seeing is legit. According to the plan, he should have made a defense line already. He looks at his phone, wondering if the remnants of the red orc are all gone. He plans to not start anything today. It's just not the right time for him, and decides to take a look at the items that were sent in the early morning. Inside the box, there's all the weapons he needs, although he can only use it as an Indian war club. Still, a few items from the package are missing. He picks up a note which says that some of the items he ordered are illegal to have, and they couldn't go through customs. As he's busy looking at the weapons he got, he hears another delivery van and loudly tells them to leave the stuff at his front door. The door gets knocked, making our guy wonder why the delivery guy didn't listen to him. He tries to repeat it, and then opens the gate. It wasn't the delivery guy, it was Mi Kyung. She stands there, explaining that they hadn't met in a long while and she wanted to discuss something with him. She is holding a bag with some food in it, and wonders if he wants to eat some rabaki with her. Now there are just 24 days left until the apocalypse arrives. Our boy is unable to believe that Mi Kyung has finally visited his house. He's clearly getting nervous and can't stop blushing. After she serves the food, she tells him to eat before the food gets cold, and he listens to her. They are soon done eating, and he asks what she wanted to talk about. She cuts straight to the topic, as he mentioned earlier that he was looking into Asura, so she could discuss some important information over it. Well, that's not what our boy thought that she was coming to discuss. He thought maybe she wanted to date him, but he assures himself that talking about the apocalyptic things with her would be the best option right now, because he needs to have good company around him in a tough time. She quickly begins to take out the trash while our boy prepares for some more things. He got his computer out. He even revealed to her that he has awakened, because finding it out some other way wouldn't be too great. He takes a start with explaining in detail the metal death plague, and roaming around with a group which has more than 6 people makes the group an easy target for the zombies. Catching the perception of it is important for survival, making it the most important skill among the rest of it. The goal of the game is to survive. As he's about to explain further, she stops him. She discusses what Owen Hawk said, Kimba Plover getting a lot of backlash, so why isn't he spilling out information? Our boy doesn't really have an answer to her question, and asks her to take a guess. Her guess is, everyone has a reason and the circumstances justify it. Then, our boy tells her that he rejected his offer to join him, and she wonders why he would do that. He takes his phone out to show her the reason. It is a recording of them talking about kidnapping a girl, considering she is playing hard to get. Hearing all that talk makes him angry. He turns to Mi-kyung, informing her what's bound to be revealed when the apocalypse arrives, the true color of people. Our hero guides her not to trust anyone, but she startles him by suggesting to him that they should form a party together. Our guy clenches his fist, because he couldn't just blurt out an answer. One of his goals includes reaching level 10 and unlocking the shop before the tutorial, which creates a problem. In Seola, there's a system where the rank of monsters that respawn changes according to the level. If she came along with him, she is bound to die in the worst possible death. He nervously laughs, wondering what she would do if he became a zombie. She assures she will be fine and uses her trait to teleport to his dining table. She flexes about her trait called Blink. She only has to dodge him if he ever bites her. He's surprised by her skill, but warns her not to just show anyone, but she says she trusts him. Brightly, she suggests that they will become a great team if they don't become zombies. A while later, he stands near trees while he thinks about how easy it was to make fences. The first step was hammering support posts into the ground to set them up. He then wrapped barbed wire around them and fixed them. After that, he installed infrared in a couple of places and his job's done. He looks at the work he did, praising himself and being sure that he should at least get 1 dexterity point for this. Seong-ho begins to walk back, completing the mortar work and creating a defense wall. He decides to start moving packages. He's done moving the boxes after a while. While he is measuring what to do next, suddenly he feels chilly and sneezes. He realizes that the other world will be cold, and soon he will have to take shelter here, so he needs to think of some countermeasures. Our hero looks at the cave entrance and decides to build a gate there since just a curtain won't suffice. With every step, his list of things to do keeps going longer. He later stops by a woodworking shop for production and buying different things. On his way back, he checked the places he will rob during the 5 hours before the metal death plague spreads. As he's making the list, he gets stopped by Hyung Jun-hyung, who he hasn't met in a long time. He is a gym director and a divorcee, and has a small young daughter. Our boy reads his expressions and they don't look too good. Hyung doesn't care much but starts taking a look at his body, which has been looking like it's getting back in shape. Then, our boy asks him what's up with him, to which he replies how obvious it is. He's upset because the world is going to end. The protagonist is surprised that he knows about it too, and Hyung wonders if our protagonist believes in it. At first, Hyung didn't believe it until his friend began to levitate, using the superpower he was granted. The protagonist lies that he hasn't awakened, and the gym guy sighs sadly that he hasn't awakened too. Now, his friend is going to the broadcasting station to make some money. The gym guy points at our boy to sit beside him, and our guy realizes that soon everyone will find out about the existence of the awakened. Hyung changes the topic to something bizarre that happened, the Uido shootout. Seong-ho couldn't believe what he heard as he didn't watch the news in the morning. He asks him to go watch the news, but the post gets taken down instantly. The media is now being controlled. Hyung explains the follow-up news, how they were trying to cover up the news by saying it was a deserter who did the shooting. Now the shootout area has been closed off for the public. Only the army and the police can visit it. Suddenly our boy gets up, makes an excuse to leave, and begins to run away. Back at home, a shootout took place right after the orc incident. This entire thing makes him think that the government is in on it since their reaction made it obvious. He opens a file on his computer and clicks on a video. Our guy is surprised to see a lot of people knowing the exact time of the precursor phenomenon. He even got rid of the orc, but the shootout occurred at the same time. While overthinking, he wonders if someone leaked the information to the government early on and tries to initiate action starting with the first precursor phenomenon. And maybe they didn't come out at the front because they do not have an offensive trait. He's not sure who it is, but there's definitely someone behind the government. Seong-ho wonders who that person could be. He researched it, and he was left with 3 veteran players. After a lot of thought, he got rid of the creator. Since they are pulling this move of the game in the means of reality, the creators of the game are likely to be villains. If the villains were backed by the government, they would never let him kill the orc. He sketches out 3 faces, which are the biggest suspects. He wonders if it is the survivor number 1. And if his theory is legit, he doesn't have to share this information with the government by himself. Our guy stretches back on his chair, wondering if survivor number 1 is the guy he really knew. He misses his veteran friends and decides to trust them for now. Other than that, sharing info would still not stop the catastrophe that is coming ahead, so he will not step in yet. 2 days later, he gets his door made and his pantry is ready. The first shelter is done. He decides to install 2 logistic trays and then drill through the wall, but there is way less space than he imagined. The basement waterproofing has been done, and he has been working on it bit by bit. He walks away thinking that he will figure it out when it's done healing in phase 2. There is an important task that he needs to do, making maps with his drone. As he was doing that, with his VR set on and the drone in the air, he saw the shelter in the midpoint and started exploring around. By the drone, he was able to learn about the snowfields in the northwest and an ocean to the south. The ocean had no monsters and a lot of prey, so he decides to set up some traps to catch fish. He examined the valley to study the ecosystem around the shelter. Suddenly, he sees the spot where he buried the owlbear, but the corpse is missing. He wonders if the big furball ate it. He doesn't form a judgment because there are many footsteps near it, most of them being orc footsteps, which makes it even more suspicious. He measures a distance between the valley and the shelter, which is roughly 1.5 kilometers, making the shelter more dangerous than he assumed. Knowing that the goblins are nearby, he decides to bring back the drone to the shelter because he cannot afford losing it. He is able to sketch out a good map and knows what kind of animals are found in the forest. The next thing he has to do is to check all those areas by himself. Starting with the closest swamp, he wants to see if farming is possible. Suddenly, the infrared goes off, and he steps outside knowing that those were goblins around with their footsteps imprinted on the ground. Our boy was already thinking about it, so it creates a perfect opportunity for him. He wonders if this is because of his perception status that has recently increased. Even the smallest sound was super clear to him. After a while, he was able to spot some goblins without showing himself. It created the perfect ambush angle for him, and he pulls out his spear and arrow and launches an attack towards the goblin head. The goblin falls dead, and our boy gets supported by the other goblins, and they begin to run towards him to attack him. But he swiftly gets rid of them as if they were easy to kill. He kills 4 of them and then goes to attack the remaining 4. Our boy gets surrounded by them, but he pulls something out of his pocket, which instantly makes the goblins drop on their knees. As they are on their knees, our protagonist takes his knife and chops their heads off. He took an advantage of goblins' exhaustion into winning this battle, that even he couldn't believe that it worked. Now, the days that are left till the apocalypse arrives are 21. While digging the ground, our boy feels tired, and suddenly his trait gets triggered, and his body is again full of efficiency. He realizes that his skill is not completely useless after all. After a while, he is done burying the corpses of the goblins. Then he turns towards the loot he collected. He first collects the guaca fruit, which helps majorly and restores the strength. There is a ton of vegetable oil in the loot, which makes him think that maybe there is a harvest nearby. He looks in the pouch of the head goblin, and he is surprised to find a living toad inside of it. That toad is blue in color, making our boy wonder why would they carry a live toad instead of a dead one. Suddenly the toad starts to smell, and soon enough our boy realizes that it was a paralysis poison used by the goblins. Instantly, our boy decides that he has to raise this toad no matter what. Not only does he find the toad super cute, but being able to extract poison, he will be able to create a poison resistance by injecting it into his body. With the paralysis poison, hunting will become easier too. Then our boy decides a name for the toad, Jodoc, aiming to feed Jodoc a lot. His system begins to notify him about the toad now being his property. He wonders if this is like a hidden gimmick added in reality. He begins to overthink and overanalyze the situation. After that, our boy starts exploring and opens the dimensional gate. With that gate, he keeps going back and forth and finally completes his reorganization. After that, he immediately begins to search the surroundings and then finds a spring which he accidentally missed in the drone. He looks at the water and realizes that it is ordinary water and nothing too dangerous about it. He is surprised to find a hideout near his shelter, and right behind the spring he finds a guaca tree and vegetable oil buds. Our boy picked the guaca fruits and harvested a proper amount of vegetable oil buds. After that, he left marks on trees everywhere he went, so he wouldn't forget the way to this place and began to head back. At his apartment, he feeds his new pet, Jodoc. He's raising his pet on the second floor apartment for the time being. He couldn't leave Jodoc in the hideout because it would die. Other than taking care of his pet, there were more things to do. The longest thing that took was making the ointment and accidentally made too much of it. He doesn't know what to do. He can't give it to Mi Kyung because she is a fellow awakener too, so he decides to give it to Hyung. At Hyung's place, he drinks the protein drink and our boy gave him the ointment, making him wonder what that is. Our guy explains that he bought too much of it, and it's supposed to be good for wounds. Hyung jokingly asks if he's getting into marketing, and our hero denies. Still, Hyung is grateful to him for the ointment and for sending him Sura-related information. But our boy thanks him for telling him about the shooting incident. Then, Seong-ho observes the gym being way too quiet, to which his friend explains that everyone went to make plans after the broadcasting guy spread the information he knew about. So now, they are deciding to make a base here. Our hero warns him that having too many people is a sign of danger, but Hyung just doesn't want to abandon his members. He's too loyal to them. Then Hyung wonders what Seong-ho plans to do, and he just brushes it off. Suddenly they hear a scream and Seong-ho finds it familiar. He looks down at the building and he sees Mi Kyung on the ground. Both of them rush to her, wondering what happened. She explains that she was attacked, but couldn't see who attacked her. Hyung instantly goes to check outside the building and the entire area, despite our boy trying to stop him from going out for the moment. Meanwhile, our boy sticks with Mi Kyung, and she elaborates that everything went dark in front of her eyes, and she couldn't process what happened. Hearing that, a chill runs down the spine of our hero realizing what's happening, and he urges her to instantly use her ability blink whenever something like that happens, because they have started moving. He also assures that he will send her a self-defense kit soon, and urges her to be really careful from now on. Only 20 days left until the apocalypse approaches. There is a famous meme from the past. If 5 people gather, one of them is bound to be useless. Trollers exist everywhere in the world, especially in Sura. In Sura, there exist patches for interference. The developers answer the reports but do not catch the trollers. In Sura, trollers join a team, acting like normal players, but afterward lure the party into an area filled with monsters, making the entire team wipe out. They approach beginners with kindness, only to kill them later and steal their belongings. Trollers have done all kinds of things to make parties fight each other. They made the game, which was already not famous, fall in just 1 year. Some users dropped to 4 because Seong-ho's team took care of the remaining trollers. Our boy wonders why he is explaining all this, then summarizes everything he has found so far. The Awakener communities combined after the Uedo shootout. They are not only giving information, but also plotting schemes. He pauses mid-sentence, as he finds out people are selling his videos as well. As our protagonist surfs more on the site, he learns that his teammate Dawajusem was a troller. He gets stunned to see the thumbnail of Dawajusem's video, stating about being carried by Kimbap Jao. Now Seong-ho wonders if that troller is trying to lure people with some edited video. Surprisingly, he claps for Dawajusem as Dawajusem is praised for his thinking. He stretches as he decides to train more in order to tackle those kinds of people. For the next 13 days, whenever he got time, our hero constantly learned weapon usage and techniques that can be used in real combat from a survival MeTube channel online. On the other hand, in that time period, he saw attacking monsters, including hideouts. Plus, there are a number of strategies and weapons that did not consider the wire disease. Therefore, after training in those 13 days, Seong-ho is finally looking forward to choosing a main weapon, a weapon that can be used if the wire disease comes, and which is also good for anti-personnel combat and monster elimination. He looks into his tool bag and finds an Indian war club, wooden slingshot, ochre clay beads, and handmade stone axe. However, not a single one fits with his conditions. Then at first, our protagonist decides to try the slingshot. It has high utility in many ways. However, the ochre clay beads are ambiguous as their power is weak. Next, he decides to use the Indian war club. He reflects that, once the wire disease was taken as a given, there was no need to worry. The easiest way to eliminate a zombie is to destroy the spores living inside the skull with a blunt weapon. He recalls that the first weapon he decides to buy after reaching level 10 is a blunt weapon type item, Ebony Wood Club, and that's why it was essential for him to raise his proficiency. But now our boy wonders if the Indian War Club is good against people as well. He believes it is ambiguous, because it will be difficult for him to handle a psychic awakener with this. He knows that in survival life, killing a human gives 50 points. The murderer system, which required death matches with the nearby players if registered as a murderer, prevented the abuse of player killing. Although there will be a high number of people who will eliminate users for the sake of more points, even being suffered by demerits. Meanwhile, he completely destroys the dummy with his Indian War Club. He decides to avoid those kinds of players until he finishes item and skill farming. After training hard, our hero wipes his sweat from his place, while planning to dismantle the store completely, but he stops mid-sentence as he hears a wolf sound coming from nearby. He gets shocked, wondering if one has gotten injured near the hideout. Later, Seong-ho finds the wolf, which is bigger than normal size. Our boy can even ride on it. The system reveals its name, Grey Wolf, but as he observes it closely, he notices it is not breathing. He wonders if this is a stray wolf or one that came near his hideout after being attacked. To find more information, our protagonist starts checking its injuries. However, out of nowhere, a young little wolf hits him on his back. Seong-ho learns the dead wolf is actually the mother of this little wolf, which stands between him and its mother, so it can protect its mother. He gets confused because he can't use force to separate that little wolf from its mother. He grabs a shovel as our hero decides to bury the dead wolf quickly. As he starts digging a hole, he thinks if that wolf was a monster, then it will turn into a bone creeper, and if not, then it will attract more monsters. After some time, the hole is completely dug, while the younger wolf is sleeping beside its mother, reminding our boy of his younger self and Mung-chi, the dog he raised in his childhood. Next, he grabs the little wolf, explaining that its mother will be sleeping here. He adds that it can visit its mom whenever it wants, as he plans to make a dog hole in the hideout door. Then, Seong-ho gives the wolf a piece of meat, promising to make sure it will never starve until it grows up. He asks its help in return, with its amazing sense of smell. When he asks if it agrees, the small wolf happily answers by making a soft sound. Then, our protagonist gives it a name, Dingo, as he pats its head. The system window pops up, notifying that he has succeeded in communication with the Grey Wolf, and this Grey Wolf, Dingo, will be considered his property. With that, there are 19 days remaining until the apocalypse arrives. Seong-ho is busy training Dingo. He instructs it to repeat the actions he just taught. When our boy calls for a paw, Dingo places it on his owner's hand. Then the wolf runs as instructed, sits, lies down, and stays quiet, following every command our hero gives. Lastly, he throws a big piece of bone into the air, and Dingo successfully catches it with a leap. Our protagonist feels satisfied as he notes how quickly it learns, likely because it is from another world. He reflects on its excellent scent tracking skills and, in his mind, considers Dingo a bundle of luck and a blessing. He cares for his adorable companion with a kiss and starts to say something, but his phone rings. As Seong-ho picks up the phone, he sees a message from Hyung, who suggests searching levitation on the web. Later, our hero finds an article about a person being called the first superhuman, someone who claims zombies and monsters will soon appear and bring disaster. That article has reached rank 1. In the comments, people are skeptical, believing the broadcast channel did this only for ratings. He notes there are many who know nothing about eras, but the Awakeners are clearly alarmed in the comments section. He finds it amusing how some get upset when little information is shared, and others get angry when what they know becomes widespread. Next, our protagonist wonders how the government will react. He is aware of people holding rallies about shock and superpowers, but snaps out of it, deciding not to get involved with such matters. Though he implies the government will eventually act once the second omen, the Hobgoblin event, occurs, Xiang-ho decides not to waste a moment. He tells Dingo that from today they will begin exploration. Deep down, our boy knows thorough preparation is the only solution, and Dingo seems eager for it. Later, they enter the portal world, and Xiang-ho reflects on why he chose interdimensional exploration with Dingo. He lets Dingo sniff a small pouch and orders it to find it. The first reason for this type of exploration is to prepare for the upcoming Hobgoblin event, as he needs Dingo to properly imprint the scent of goblins. Meanwhile, Dingo barks, having found the flesh in the bushes, and our hero feels proud that it tracked it down from just a lingering scent. The second reason is to test if Dingo can stay calm in live combat and follow commands. So, he signals, and the wolf immediately dashes forward. With great precision, Dingo hunts a rabbit on the grass, and our protagonist praises it. The third reason for exploration is to confirm if hunting is possible in the other world. Seong-ho approaches Dingo to inspect its prey, observing the dead rabbit and noting its strong claws and large size. Afterwards, our boy and his little wolf continue exploring. Moving ahead, he wonders what Dingo's cognition would look like as stats. He decides to head toward the valley to verify it himself. Then, a system window appears, notifying him that Dingo's health has increased by 1. Remembering his own health stat as Kimbafo was 170, our hero is impressed by how fast Dingo is growing. Suddenly, Dingo begins to cough, and our protagonist rushes over to offer water. He reminds his partner not to go alone into the woods. Dingo drinks, while our boy spots a large green pepper nearby and wonders if it ate that. The system reveals it is called bull pepper. Seong-ho is pleased to find it in the woods and praises Dingo, promising plenty of treats later. He digs to harvest the bull pepper. Next, they set out for their final hunt. Both of them sit on rocks at the edge of a stream. This time, Dingo doesn't detect any unusual scents or presence. Deep down, our boy reflects that red trout aren't monsters and don't give points or items. However, he believes it's essential for young Dingo to gain experience, which is valuable. After hunting red trout, our protagonist decides to finish preparations for Phase 2, then return home. The following day, his entire restaurant is demolished. The manager of the demolishing company tells our hero to contact them within 3 days if there are any repair issues. He thanks the manager sincerely for working so early in the morning. Taking a deep breath, he feels a bit sad to see the place destroyed, but knows it was necessary. As he steps inside, Seong-ho assumes that after the apocalypse, those who don't turn into zombies will likely loot stores. He admits he would do the same, so he has no right to complain. As he starts cleaning up, Hyung appears behind him, observing the empty room. Hyung mentions he's also left only the bare minimum equipment. When our boy wonders aloud why Hyung is there, Hyung snaps his fingers against Seong-ho's forehead, angry that our hero left the previous day without a word. Now, Hyung says, he came just to check if Seong-ho is even alive. Meanwhile, Dingo watches Hyung with cold eyes. Hyung wonders aloud if Seong-ho always had a dog, but he explains that one is long gone. He adds that this is his new pet, and Hyung calls the wolf adorable. Then, Seong-ho asks again why he is here, and Hyung repeats that he only came to check on him. Our hero doesn't believe that, so Hyung shares another reason for his visit. He admits he was worried, but also reveals that he's found the people behind the attack on Mi-kyung. With that, only 17 days remain until the apocalypse arrives. Sitting down with Hyung, Seong-ho learns that the party organized by Kim Cheol-jun, the man known for always wearing a hat, is actually targeting Mi-kyung. Hyung also mentions that the tow truck, which our boy dislikes, is involved with their party as well. He points toward the mountains in front of them and asks if the area near the base of the mountain is where redevelopment halted, adding that their hideout is situated there. However, our protagonist is curious how Hyung was able to discover all this, and Hyung explains that the clues simply lined up. He states that Han Jin-seong, the one who can levitate, had recently appeared on a variety show, and Hyung had asked him directly. Han Jin revealed he had met with Cheol-jun's group before, but their members were all unpleasant, so Han Jin refused to stay with them due to conflicting personalities. After what happened to Mi-kyung, all the female members started leaving the party. When questioned about their departure, those women only said they had received offers from other Awakener parties. Hyung asks for Seong-ho's opinion, and our hero responds that, unlike Mi-kyung, the other female members must have been tricked into joining. Hyung then suddenly reveals that their party is now down to 4 members, including himself. This revelation stuns our boy, who remembers there were 20 members just days before. Hyung does not elaborate, but he knows that now their party has only 2 Awakeners. Seong-ho struggles to process this, recalling that they had done favors for those members who still decided to leave. Yet, Hyung remains composed, telling our protagonist that this is simply how things are. Those people were just looking after themselves. More than this, Hyung says he is worried about little Ji-eun, debating whether or not to contact his ex-wife. Our boy keeps a straight face, knowing their situations are not the same, and he wants to know if his own thinking is correct. He wants to ask Hyung something that has been on his mind. Our protagonist wonders, if the apocalypse really comes and people start threatening Hyung, what would he do? Before he can finish, Hyung cuts him off, insisting he would not hesitate to kill them. Hyung says he has a principle against hurting others, but in a disaster without law, there would be no other choice. He believes that in such times, there is no space for evil to survive. Then, Hyung curiously asks why Seong-ho would bring up such a question, noting that it does not seem like him. Our boy does not provide a real answer, and right then someone yells for help. The sound comes from our hero's cell phone. Hyung wonders if it is the sound of a lost child, but Seong-ho checks the map and asks Hyung to look after Dingo for a while. Elsewhere, Mi-kyung is surrounded by bad guys and appears to have sent a distress signal. The enforcer tow truck, On and Hak, mockingly asks Mi-kyung why she is causing such a scene, demanding she come down. In response, Mi-kyung stands on the edge of a rooftop, shouting that she already refused, but they kept chasing her. She demands to know why they are doing this. Onin urges her to reconsider, but Kim Cheol and Ma Jong-in step forward, insisting on handling things their way, and pointing out that, since they are in a redevelopment area, nobody will come to Mi-kyung's rescue. Kim Cheol tells her not to waste her energy, and reminds her that they all have traits, then starts a countdown. Meanwhile, our boy is preparing his weapons, hiding in an alley. At the count of 2, he slings Kim Cheol, and on 3, Kim Cheol is struck. All the group members are confused, trying to figure out who is attacking them. Suddenly, our protagonist appears in a helmet and steps forward to strike On-in, debating whether or not to reveal his identity. Using the Indian War Club, Seong-ho hits On-in hard, then immediately goes for another member. This person emits black energy, making our hero suspect he has a vision-blocking trait, but Seong-ho is able to strike him anyway. Now, our hero is breathing heavily, and when he sees Mi-kyung, she warns him to watch out. He turns and sees Kim Cheol coming at him with a bat, which hits and damages his helmet. Seong-ho is shocked by the destructive force behind the attack. At the same time, Kim Cheol realizes who he is, but our boy is deep in thought, recognizing that Kim Cheol's offensive trait is extremely powerful, even at the early stages. Kim Cheol vows to cripple our protagonist, and his group members rise to back him up, determined to unleash their full strength despite being non-awakeners. On-in charges at our hero with electricity, mocking him as he approaches. Seong-ho is unsure what to do as his opponent shows off all his skills, and he wonders if he should use the dimensional gate. Just as On-in is about to strike, Dingo appears and bites On-in's arm. Hyung steps out from an alley, asking if this is really appropriate in broad daylight, and suggests the group should leave if they don't want trouble, stating he is calling 112. All the group members decide to retreat for now. Hyung comments that they look weak but still act arrogantly. Next, Mi-kyung comes down and immediately grabs our hero's head, checking if he is alright. She notes that his helmet is cracked, and Hyung offers our boy a piggyback. Seeing them both worried, Seong-ho's thoughts flash to his old comrades from the game. When Mi-kyung suggests a hospital visit, our protagonist turns away and insists he is fine. He then asks Hyung if they can bring Mi-kyung into their party. Hyung says it is not a problem as long as Mi-kyung has no objection, and she happily agrees. The hero leaves, saying he has some things to do, while Hyung and Mi-kyung are left wondering why he is acting so strangely. After returning home, our hero concentrates on controlling his emotions and planning for the second stage of his preparations. His abrupt departure was unavoidable, and seeing Hyung and Mi-kyung together made him feel like he could trust them with the secret of his abilities. But the decision was already made. To make the most of the dimensional gate, our boy must level up quickly and focus on gaining skills and farming. The phrase "crush them with item power" echoes more strongly after fighting the mountain gang. He realizes that if he prepares for the apocalypse as planned, there will be a 3-level gap or more, causing monsters that respawn near him to be stronger and making it harder to team up with his 2 companions. He keeps working until he finishes installing a wood-burning stove in his hideout, knowing this will help him sleep well at night. Dingo enjoys the stove too, sleeping soundly next to it. Now, our protagonist has just a few more things to install when they arrive, and his initial hideout setup will be nearly complete. Determined, he decides to pull an all-nighter. With that, there are 16 days left until the apocalypse arrives. A news anchor updates viewers on the asteroid observed earlier. According to the report, the HSA has announced that Yunjambi has entered the midpoint of the solar system. HSA is closely monitoring its trajectory, but the meteorite was split by Jupiter's gravity. In response, the head of the Meteorite Observation Department, Thomas Chandler, informs the public that the 2 fragments, Yunjambi Alpha and Beta, have no chance of approaching Earth. However, Seong-ho remembers that on D5, just 5 days before the apocalypse, Yunjambi Beta was the first to fall. It landed near a Russian ship in the ocean, and the resulting tsunami swept the ship ashore at Gamchin Port, which is how zombies first appeared in Korea. The news anchor continues, reporting on the Uido shooting incident. President Jang Won-taek has not left his residence for a week, prompting opposition party leaders to issue a joint statement declaring their agreement to hold a hearing. Some people are now saying this is connected to the rumors about awakeners and the impending disaster. Listening to this, our boy admits to himself that it really is the end of the world. He thinks it's a good thing that the media is finally showing interest in these matters, and concludes that it will be more difficult for awakeners to commit crimes now. Next, he decides to check the community's reaction on his laptop. As our protagonist scrolls through the comment section, he sees that people have shared strong opinions about the situation. By coincidence, he spots a comment from My Dream and wonders if this person has been active all along. My Dream was a player known for being friendly to beginners, and Seong-ho's group had played with him a few times. My Dream's ambition was to build a bunker, and if our hero didn't have a portal, he might have been tempted to join. He decides not to enter any contract unless his veteran friends join My Dream, but he bookmarks My Dream's comment for later reference. After closing his laptop, our protagonist looks forward to building his second shelter. The next day, Seong-ho stands in front of his hideout and realizes it's possible to pull 2 all-nighters in a row. He feels exhausted, but seeing his completed exterior gives him energy. It's time to figure out how to use the electricity generated by solar panels. Simply put, there are several wiring steps to make the electricity compatible with his electronic devices. Luckily, when our boy puts his phone on charge, it works. He raises his arms in delight, announcing that he has now built the foundation for survival in this world. For the first time in a while, he feels a rush of dopamine. Yesterday, he also collected luminous and ignition stones, and after further digging, he found a mineral harder and sharper than obsidian, called emerus. Although it's currently useless, he still considers it better than nothing. He decides to install LED lights later, but before sleeping, he needs to organize the food supplies in the basement. Suddenly, a loud noise from Dingo grabs his attention. Rushing outside, Seong-ho finds Dingo facing off against maned wolves, a type of monster he recognizes from Sura. He wonders why these creatures, which usually live in high-altitude areas, are here. Observing Dingo's anger, our hero suspects these might be the wolves that killed Dingo's mother. He tries to calm Dingo, but deep down, he knows he can't defeat all the wolves at this moment. If he moves to fetch a better weapon, he risks exposing his back and being attacked, which could be fatal. Therefore, our protagonist decides to focus on making the alpha wolf leave, knowing the rest will likely follow. He observes the wolves' super cautious behavior and notices they only move when the alpha acts first. Next, he considers whether they can coordinate an attack. He also notes that these wolves are extremely sensitive to scents. Fortunately, Seong-ho has pepper spray with him. If he can spray it on the alpha, he'll be able to drive it away from the shelter. Sweat trickles down his face as he considers the risk of being attacked before he can act. He wonders if there's a way to distract it and strike with the spray. Suddenly, an idea comes to mind, and he believes it is logically possible. Determined to defend the hideout he built with his own hands, our boy braces himself. He instantly throws a knife at the alpha, but it dodges. The alpha then leaps at our hero, but when it gets close, Seong-ho opens the portal, and seizing the chance, sprays the animal. The alpha loses composure, and then our protagonist drives his knife into its eye. With that, the wolf pack retreats. Our hero sits down, having narrowly escaped death. Dingo comes over to care for him, and Seong-ho pats Dingo's head in appreciation. He promises Dingo that he'll avenge its mother in the future. With that, only 15 days remain until the apocalypse arrives. Finished with organizing the basement, Seong-ho went over to the hardware and pharmacy store with the goal of finishing minimal defense supplies. Bro has gone 68 hours without sleep by now, and dealing with the wolves on top fatigued him more. Still, Seong-ho thinks that he may have gotten lucky in that previous encounter. If those wolves were werewolves instead, this dude would have been molested straight up. He even thinks that he may have gotten careless, only caring about the monsters closer to him, without considering different variables that might occur randomly. Forced into a corner, Seong-ho entertains the idea of expanding the land and building a proper shelter. His surveys with the drone point him in the same direction. Hyungjin welcomes our boy from afar, while Seong-ho is still lost in thought, believing that he could secure more space for farming and storing supplies with his new plans. Once he's finished establishing a second line of defense, he's gonna aim for Bluetooth beacons for an increased signal range. His friend keeps calling his name and snaps Seong-ho back by asking him what he's doing here. Keeping it simple, Seong-ho replies that he's here to purchase a bunch of stuff. Jimbro thinks that he came to buy some weapons, which is a strange assumption because they're standing in front of a hardware store. Hyungjin reveals that he's not the one interested, but rather, this gorgeous baddie is interested. She's one of the members of their team. After purchasing his stuff, Seong-ho learns that his buddy over here ran into this girl, and he's trying to stop her from purchasing weapons at the store. But this girl's pretty stubborn about her decision. Seong-ho thinks it's better to hand her the short summary he chalked up, but even after showing it, this girl still doesn't buy it at all. She's staring our boy down with an icy glare, which freaks him out to the point he calls her out. Suddenly, the girl speaks, remembering that this dude is actually the owner of the Teokbokki restaurant, to which our boy confirms that he is. She's really stunned by his appearance and his shift in personality. Seong-ho assumes that she thinks he's being rude and apologizes, but she reaches for her wallet and hands him a card instead. This young lady is Jo Soo-yeon, and believe it or not, she's actually a doctor. Talk about being intelligent and hot. Right after figuring out that she's a doctor, Seong-ho taught her the basics of the game, in the same manner he did with Hyungjun and Mik-young. The doctor concludes that she doesn't really care. She thinks that the game doesn't really have a scientific answer to it. Seong-ho confirms that it's just a brain-dead game, but Soo-yeon's not finished yet. One thing is bumming her out. She instantly points out that he's an awakener himself. Our boy's a little bummed out by her assumption, but Soo-yeon is pretty damn smart. She can tell that his explanations of the game are so vivid that there's no chance in hell that this dude hasn't played the game. Soo-yeon doesn't pursue the thought any further and thanks our boy for his summary. Meanwhile, Hyungjun is out here feeling jealous for not explaining things properly. The doctor hilariously tells him that he doesn't even compare to the level of depth that Seong-ho has about the game. Grateful for his help, Soo-yeon befriends Seong-ho for being a good person. Another pretty baddie added to the harem roster. The very next day, our boy is back in his room cleaning his spear blade. This new weapon looks pretty good, and he's curious to test it in battle. Seong-ho's initial setup is now complete, so he calls our favorite dog Dingo and explains that they're gonna go avenge his mother. It's not exactly revenge, but still, it's gonna be a huge problem if some intruder discovers Seong-ho's hideout. That's why they need to act quickly and take care of those dangerous people quickly. In the next scene, John Wick and his dog are ready to kill some bitches. On this mission, Dingo's got an important role to play. Currently, they're staring down a pack of wolves, but strangely, there are only 4 of them in sight. The really interesting part is the lack of an alpha wolf among them. Upon closer inspection, Seong-ho realizes what's really going on. An owlbear is ferociously tearing apart the wolves' flesh, having slaughtered a few of them together. Seongho thinks this guy is pretty convenient for cleaning up a bunch of them. The thing about the manned wolf pack is that, the moment it loses its alpha, the pack crumbles without a leader. Their senses are scattered and they become very confused, leading to a lack of coordination. This is the perfect moment for our boy to take each of them down one by one. Speaking of which, one wolf rushes towards him, but Seongho casually deploys his web trap and catches it with ease. The same ferocious wolf is reduced to a puppy, wailing in fear of being devoured. But these cheap tricks won't work on our boy, who instantly kills it with his spear. Now I kinda feel bad for the wolf, but we gotta secure the mission. With one wolf down, 3 points are gained. The remaining 3 wolves are drawn to Seongho's presence as he runs off. All 3 of them become hyper-aggressive and start chasing after them. 2 scatter from the side while 1 lunges from up top to secure the kill. But not to worry, bug spray to the rescue. Seongho downs 1, but he's still being attacked by 2 others from each direction. First, he clocks his right, plunging the spear deep inside the wolf's belly. The other one tries to use this opportunity for some backshots. Except Dingo comes to our boy's rescue with a powerful tackle. With another wolf killed, he gets 3 more points. Seongho menacingly declares that he just needs to stab each of them until they're dead. Bro isn't in danger, he is the damn danger. With a bunch of wolves defeated, our boy reaches level 5 and gains additional effects to his special trait. Curious, he inspects his gate's properties. The new feature is that his gate is now invisible to everyone else. Then there's a projection effect allowing him to hear sounds from any projected location. To test it out, Seongho casts the gate immediately. This time, he can actually see through his house without having to travel to the other side. The transparency works too, so no one's going to be able to detect his ability anymore. Besides, Seongho was worried that he might have accidentally crossed into a dungeon without knowing about the threat level through his gate. But thanks to this projection effect, the risk is eliminated. The fact that this effect sprung up at level 5 also implies that more effects wait for him as he reaches higher levels. He never even assumed that these unimportant levels could hold rewards for him, but still, he's got a lot on his plate that he's got to do. Starting with burying the corpses of his victims, the wolf pack. 2 days after the subjugation of the wolves, our boy marked down and did a bunch of things. Firstly, he went to the other world and conducted another survey with his drone. Setting the radius around 1 kilometer, he was able to find a bunch of different but harmless animals. Even now, there wasn't any sighting of a goblin, or even a kobold. No monsters at all. Next, Seongho aimed to obtain information about the goblin nest 30 kilometers away. That kind of nest is supposedly large enough to have a bunch of hobgoblins too, which means defeating them will be really difficult. Now that he'd gained real confidence about their safety, Seongho felt that it was just the right time to start expanding. Bro became Chainsaw Man alongside his version of Pochita and mowed down the trees, clearing the area, flattening the ground, and transforming the same hideout into a proper shelter base. Dingo was the MVP. He helped create a large circle acting as a boundary. Seongho played it extra safe and even set up 2 whole layers of barbed wire fencing alongside a moat. Now he just needed to dig it 2 meters deeper for a combined effect with the wire. While he was doing all of this, he also watched TV thanks to his projected portal. The government freshly announced plans to carry out a proper investigation into Awakeners. In the real world, Seongho actively bought materials from hardware stores. He visited multiple home renovation stores to obtain tool sets. Then on the way back to his place, he even spied on Cheolchen's hideout. If that wasn't enough, Seongho even went on a limb to rent a motorcycle and a mini excavator that he could eventually use with added training. The little blue toad continued to be an excellent support for him. Seongho routinely injected a small amount of poison to build up resistance, but eventually he had gathered enough of it to merge with a weapon of his choosing. In his room, he finds himself completely shocked. Survivor 1, a dude with literally 4,500 hours spent on the game, joined the mission. This made Seongho wonder about the Uido shootout. Alongside the government's shady control over the media, even the incidents of the president's behavior being cooped up in one place. All 3 of these events may look like coincidences on the surface, but our boy knows that it's much deeper than that. His initial theory has always been the same, that Survive 1 is collaborating with the president and his safety, but that's only because he thought this guy would know about the background story taking place. Survivor 1 is supposed to be an item collector, so this guy definitely would have asked for a huge shelter from the president in exchange for the information. He also picked his target of collaboration carefully, choosing the president to gain the highest leverage and authority. The situation is complicated. Seongho wonders if this is all just a huge bluff, but then again, my dream doesn't fit. His contemplation is starting to cause a headache, but Seongho has reached an answer. If both Survivor 1 and My Dream are collaborating, then our boy intends to change his personal strategy as well. In the next scene, we watch Mr. Four Eyes creating a new score and VR ID. He wonders if he's going to get a response back, because it could lead to a postponement of his plans. My Dream actually responds really damn fast, because some of these gamers are allergic to a job or social life, I guess. Even Bro thinks that this guy is unemployed, but he really wants to check if this guy is legit or not via the VR chat. The chat is initiated, with My Dream joining the White Room. Classroom of the Elite fans will get this reference. Both players confront each other. My Dream is particularly annoyed with this dude's unknown alias. Even when he agreed to come here, this guy is out here wearing a stupid duck face. The offended duck apologizes and doesn't care. My Dream takes it as a sign that he's dealing with a veteran who wants to hide his identity, but Duckface keeps him in the dark. My Dream tests him with 3 important questions. Only then will he acknowledge this stupid duck. The first question is regarding the maximum jump height of a werewolf, to which our boy fires back immediately with 3 meters. He even knows about an owlbear's weakness, which is basic as shit. Light is the answer. Finally, the evolution stages of zombies alongside their forms. Duckface responds that instead of having infection abilities, these zombies consume actual nutrients for their functioning. Accumulating the nutrients allows them to evolve into ghouls. Interestingly, some even become enhanced zombies before that stage. My dream then pitches a 4th question, despite claiming that he was going to ask only 3. Our boy refuses to tell him the exact number of precursor events in the story. With this, the player laughs, admitting that Duckface really is a veteran. Our boy is pretty annoyed and demands this guy to hit up Survivor 1 and make him join the call. However, that can't happen right now. My dream doesn't even give a reason, to which our duck-faced protagonist calls straight up bullshit on. Changing topics, this guy tips his fedora and hints that something is about to happen very soon. Our boy is starting to think that this guy might actually be crazy at this point. It's almost as if he's saying filler lines to stall for something. Suddenly, a chill runs down his spine the moment he realizes what's going on. My dream exits the chat, while our boy realizes that this dude was actually doxing him the entire time. Right then and there, a man enters the cafe with 2 security guards, ordering them to lock the doors. The receptionist emphasizes that they're supposed to make a payment over the counter for their allotted time, but this guy straight up grabs her arm, emphasizing that they're here to find someone instead of playing games. The one part that bothers Seong-ho is that my dream is supposed to be playing it chill and undercover, but strangely he's going on the offensive. By the way, this guy's ability is similar to Lelouch from Code Geass, being able to control the receptionist's mind. Anyway, our boy is in a pickle. He's got to make a run for it, because if he's caught, the same will happen to him. So he heads over to the restroom and pops open the dimensional gate ability. Meanwhile, the guy searching for him is going around spamming his mental ability on everyone for Seong-ho's identity. So far, they've checked every area except one, leading him to the restroom. The guy is supremely confident that our boy's hiding here. Opening each stall, he wonders if this dude is a stealth-type assassin. You know, it's gonna be really funny if this dude whacks open the door and finds a random guy shitting. Anyway, my dream is pretty confident dealing with stealth-type monsters. He splashes a bucket of water to scan the environment, sensing any uneven edges. He's also flailing his hands, hoping to find Seong-ho. The thing about our boy is that he did summon his gate, but luckily he laid it flat against the wall. Actually, this guy is currently standing face to face with the same portal. He just can't see it. After his inspection, my dream confesses that his assumption of our boy being a stealth user was wrong. That leads him to a second conclusion, that Seong-ho must be a movement specialist. Budget Nanami orders his group to scan the whole area, reminding his men that there's going to be a big reward for his capture. Observing the situation from his portal, Seong-ho confesses that despite being rich in reality and humble in the game, he didn't want to come to this state of things. He actually thanks my dream in his head for making everything clear. All this time, Seong-ho had been conflicted, but now, he's damn near certain of what he has to do. Revealing himself, he intends to fight pettily, and will no longer hold himself back from responding to violence. His opponent sighs, questioning where Seong-ho is hiding in secrecy. He's operating under the assumption that this guy is movement-based, but even then, a veteran with tons of hours accumulated won't be that easy to track. Hilariously, our boy pops up from behind like a ghost and says hi. My dream notices him in the mirror as Seong-ho lunges right in with a spear strike. The poisonous spear slashes his leg, and within seconds, he is influenced by its effects. This guy was trying to aura farm all this time, and one slip up resulted in his doom. Without confirming his identity, our boy slams his face into the wall, reminding him that he's not supposed to turn back. He then mocks the guy for the pain of the poison that is currently coursing through his veins. Every time he tries to talk, Seong-ho reminds his bitch ass to shut up. Next, he clutches his blade, stating how the apocalypse and tutorial hasn't even begun yet. The same goes for the murderer system. Saying so, Seong-ho slashes the guy's gun wrapped around his belt. Adopting a serious and terrifying tone, Seong-ho brutally declares that he won't even get penalized if he kills him right now. His blade hovers around the guy's neck, but he stays quiet like a good boy. Seong-ho is impressed that this dude knows how to shut up for once. His body flops, despite being conscious. It won't move for a while because of the poison. First question, Seong-ho inquires why this dude was trying to sell out Survivor 1 and targeting innocent people because of it. Instead, the same dude who tried to hunt others was now just a paralyzed victim, a pathetic monster that could be farmed without lifting a finger. My dream curses Seong-ho, who takes his gun and reminds him that this is the price he'll pay for even entertaining the idea of capturing him. Our boy grabs his knife and chillingly threatens to actually kill this guy if they see each other. After this, Seong-ho ended up escaping the cafe long before my dream's group arrived. He safely made it home and then went to the other dimension. Here, he took apart the gun and began inspecting this guy's ID. The guy's name is Kwon Kyung-jun. He's in his late 30s, runs a golf club, and actually controls 3 bunkers through them. Finally, bro's a sugar daddy to multiple women, which means he gets all the bitches and the bread. For his abilities, Seong-ho assumes that he's got something really powerful based on the number of hours he spent on the game. The skill is related to mind control, that much is clear. All of this useful information is now Seong-ho's to use. Of course, skills aren't supposed to improve just because someone spent a few thousand hours in the game. Even Valorant and Counter-Strike no-lifers spend 10,000 hours only to remain hard stuck. Anyway, Seong-ho understands that the game always valued survival above everything, so his own portal skill is basically a cheat for veterans. For now, he wants to keep this a theory until he's able to confirm another veteran's skill. Next, Seong-ho tests the gun, contemplating that the apocalypse was soon to come. He's certain about one thing with absolute conviction, and makes his way through the forest following Dingo's lead. Here, the dog barks at an interesting area. Dead bodies of police officers alongside a bunch of goblins are just lying around. Keeping his composure, our boy checks on the status of the bodies. Turns out one of the officers is actually alive. Though he doesn't have any fatal wounds on him, he's been hit with a paralysis poison effect. But the more worrying part is his missing weapon, even though it's also possible that he never had one in the first place. In any case, Seong-ho puts both bodies together and tells them to rest here for 30 minutes for the effects to subside. Then he turns his head around to inspect the corpses of the goblins. From first glance, he spots a bunch of bullet holes, which confirms that the police officers actually did have a gun. The big question is, why is the gun missing only? After thinking about it for a while, Seong-ho reaches a revelation, suspecting that this is the work of a gold goblin. But that excites him, because he really wants to hunt it down for himself. With the new plan set, our boy proceeds to dial emergency service through his phone. He'd also left a note with the precise location and even instructions to bury the goblin corpses. Seong-ho understands that monsters are already a thing in the eyes of the public, so playing the safe and stealth game is pointless. Right now, he's in a fight against time, and he's hoping that this tiny murder machine over here can help him out. In a different area, a fight is breaking out between a goblin and a non-awakened person. The goblin dodges his swing and gets away. There are 3 of them left, while the homeboy questions his captain if this is really the right way to go about things. He doesn't get why he has to play the role of a tanker when he doesn't even have any abilities to begin with. The captain uses his skill, having an edge in psychokinesis. The only problem with this skill's casting is that it takes a while to actually use. Bro's got a bunch of rocks ready and now he's throwing them to smash the goblin's body. He's playing the part of support, while his buddy asks when the rest of the party members are gonna arrive. His captain hears that the party went up to the Gyasan mountain, but apparently they've been stopped and were unable to climb up the mountain. This is a striking revelation to the average Joe, who doesn't have any abilities. He wants to retreat, but his captain believes they should push on. 3 goblins jump the guy and are about to beat his ass, when more rocks smash their faces and divert them. The good thing is that these goblins aren't as strong as they were in the game. The captain simply tells this guy to keep pushing while keeping composure. As long as they can deal with a bunch of monsters and capture the hobgoblin group, they'll end up with a significant advantage. Mr. Psychokinesis is so busy lecturing his buddy that he drops his guard and gets whacked by a goblin's mace. Now that his hand is fucked up, this guy can't control his ability. Even more is how a shitty goblin managed to outsmart him with a counter strategy. Yeah, if I was him I would just give up. Now that they were completely defenseless, the 3 goblins surrounded them and began to lunge from every direction. Things were really looking like the end of the road for these amateurs, when suddenly a bolt shot right through the goblin's head. A second and third shot follows and injures the other 2 goblins. Much to their confusion, the party of 2 has no idea what's going on. They look into the dark forest, questioning where the arrow even came from. In the next scene, our boy is seen with his combat bow. At first, he contemplates if he really made the right move to step in and waste his ammo. At the same time, Seong-ho is just glad that he was able to confirm important information regarding the Awakeners. First, he learned that these guys were being prevented from climbing up the mountain. Second, he encountered a group of goblins who were already pretty weakened. Using these 2 strands of information, Seong-ho concocts his next plan. He's already prepared a method to deal with the goblin group. His strategy is actually very simple. The idea revolves around provoking the goblin, which can be done by throwing a stone. After rage-baiting the green-balled midget, he'll draw the goblin towards the dimensional portal gate with simple cues. When the goblin is close enough to the gate, Seong-ho will release an attack from the other side, with the obvious advantage of being able to see through his gate, while also remaining transparent in front of others. With the first goblin severely injured, it will scream and grab the attention of its allies. Using the same dimensional gate as a wall, Seong-ho will forcibly pull his spear back, out of the goblin's body, erasing all evidence of his attacks. Now let's discuss the reaction of the hobgoblin, who already has a high perception stat in the game. It will notice its dead subordinate, and immediately point fingers towards the other goblins for plotting its death. This will form chaos within the goblin group, causing disharmony and leading the other goblins away from their leader. Using that key opportunity, the calculating Seong-ho will materialize from the other side and cut their heads clean off, maintaining the clear advantage of making the first move. The same will continue in repeat fashion. His plan is going pretty smoothly so far, but the problem is, Seong-ho needs to be wary of certain behavioral patterns of the other goblins. To his shock, our boy faces an interesting situation. The hobgoblin faces him while the gold goblin runs away with the loot, implying that they had a fallout. This is bad news for our boy, who now has to employ an emergency gamble. His immediate problem is Captain Mustard gaining up on him with speed. Seong-ho genuinely has no other options here, so he does his best to block the forceful smash. Even after blocking it, his body suffers the shock of the attack and smashes into a tree. Seong-ho is now trembling and wounded. Things are really looking bad for him. The hobgoblin wastes no time in finishing him off. If our boy goes down here, he knows he's mega levels of cooked. The mace blitzes full speed in his direction with the aim of smashing his brains out. Seong-ho's health decreases in that key moment, activating his critical skill survival instinct. Flashing a yellow glare, this man responds to the hobgoblin's attack at point-blank range. Instead of attacking the monster, he races after the gold goblin, an excellent move. Thanks to the gun he obtained from Kyungjun, he aims it at the creature's head and blasts a headshot, killing the gold goblin immediately. Right then, he calls for the dimensional gate. Seongho has achieved the first phase of his farming mission, but there's still a problem he has to deal with. That being the hideous monster coming after him. Our boy brings out his gun to a melee fight and starts shooting the creature down. The hobgoblin can't withstand the might of the American-style breathing technique and gets mogged. Seongho pays back the hobgoblin with double the love by slashing the creature all over its body in style. The hobgoblin screams and dies, increasing our boy's level to 6 and netting him 16 points. At last, his difficult quest is over. He checks on the new skill he gained called Terrain Sense, which allows him to sense and respond to surrounding terrain. Interestingly, just like last time, any items that he used or held ended up upgraded and turned into actual items. Seongho can't waste time because he realizes that a search party is coming this way. Having acquired what he came here for, our boy manifests the dimensional gate and walks inside, knowing that he just has to rest in his hideout until the search party is finished. The following day, Seongho is woken up by everyone's favorite dog. He checks his watch and realizes that he actually slept for an entire day because of his injuries. Knowing the risks of survival instinct, Seongho intends to use it only in extreme situations. Before going out on his next mission, he's curious about the loot he grabbed from the gold goblin. He pulls out all the stuff and lays it on the table. There's a bunch of revolvers, a dagger, and some other stuff. These goblins were the best when it came to this stuff. Seongho is fine with the revolver, but the real prize in his eyes is the mithril knife he snagged. This baby is a weapon with permanent invariance, a rare thing in the game. It's one of the only weapons out there that won't be affected by the incoming disease catastrophe. But the one question that bugs him is how a goblin was able to obtain such a rare item that costs a whopping 100 points in the shop. Inspecting every inch of the blade, Seongho realizes that it is flawed and imperfect. During his contemplation, he reaches an enlightenment. The goblins of this world carried metal weapons. Because of their intelligence, it's not possible for such creatures to make them on their own. This begs the question, did a sudden mutation occur and change the course of their civilization? This meant that even smarter goblins were out there experimenting like research goblins. However, this theory is baseless for now and our boy knows it. He wants to test it later, but for now, he's more interested in unpacking the tiny satchels. Hitting the lottery, Seongho pulls out a bunch of shade grapes. This unique fruit enhances a person's night vision. Carrying them also makes sense because it's the one reason that these goblins can easily move at night. Popping open the status window, our boy inspects his growth rate. He's pretty happy with what he's got, because his current growth rate is faster than what it was in the game. With the basic stuff concluded, Seongho knows it's time to return to the real world. Invoking his ability, he crosses the portal while scrolling on his phone. His phone is buzzing like crazy the moment he gets his signals back. Hyungjun, Mikyoung, and even Suyeon have all texted to check on his status. With the kind of attention bro is getting, he's starting to wonder if he's the cool guy now. First, he wants to head over to the fitness center. So in the next scene, we find Seongho popping the door open to meet his friends. Before he could even greet them, they ran towards him, happy to see him in one piece. And yes, the one piece is real. Never forget that. Curious, our boy asks about the rest of the unfamiliar faces. Hyungjun brings them forward, introducing the new guys as his party members. Lee Kyung-hoon and Kim Bora greet him nicely as they exchange pleasantries. Seongho expected at least one more party member, but it turns out that this person is busy purchasing camping gear at the discount store. Our boy is astonished to hear a place like that exists, causing Mikyoung to intervene and confirm that it's actually super modern and opened recently. Jimbro asks if our boy's up to date with the incident on the news, to which Seongho agrees, stating that he's all caught up on MeTube. Maybe we should make a channel there too. The same doctor who took apart the goblin's body from Gyeosan Mountain went into a state of panic and warned everyone to prepare for the coming apocalypse. The president of the country also held a national meeting, announcing how they're trying their best to confirm the location of the creator of the game. Hyungjin wonders what Seongho's next big goal is. The whole party is gathered here all because of our boy's rich knowledge of the game. Kyung-hoon is a little ticked off that Hyungjin is still seeking advice when he's already told him that goblins obviously give points. So if an awakened person killed a monster, they would just jump from level 1 to 2, so the objective would be to stock up supplies. Now my man is watching this dude talk absolute bullshit out of his ass, not having any idea of how wrong he is. Addressing him, Seongho reveals that all of that is wrong. This lousy prick cuts our boy off by asking if he's played the game, acting like a stubborn redditor who can't even listen to another opinion. Seongho maintains that he hasn't to hide his identity, but that's enough for this guy to yap and deal the killing blow that trusting the community blindly isn't wise. Bora, the other girl, turns to ask this guy a question. She's really curious about the process of zombie spores and quizzes him to learn how the infection spreads. She also demands for any conditions involved in the process. In response, this dude ridiculously states that anyone who has ever made contact with an awakened person wouldn't become a zombie, which is the strangest response ever. Slamming the table, Kyung-hoon gets up to maintain his high ground just because he has become an awakened himself. He thinks his experience is everything, and even if casual non-awakened players interacted with him, they'd automatically become safe from the spores. It's a whole lot of nothing, but Bora is somehow easily convinced and holds on to him like he's some kind of expert. Then comes Mikyoung with her own question, asking if this guy has cleared the difficult tutorial. Kyung-hoon cuts her straight off again, emphasizing that he'll protect her so there's nothing to worry about. This pretentious douchebag is agitating in Seongho's eyes. He gives Kyung-hoon some level of credit with his theory, but also understands that there's absolutely zero evidence that granting grants awakened people complete immunity from the spores. Seongho thinks this whole conversation is dead because of one dude, and finally understands why Hyungjin called him. Forgetting about this troll and his antics, our boy gets up to leave, even though both his friends urge him to stay. Seongho has no interest in sharing his knowledge with a troll like this guy, so he bids them farewell with the intention of meeting again later. After leaving the fitness club, he crops out a bunch of places to farm points before the iron disease arrives. Seongho's interested in the camping gear store his friends told him about. Eventually, after all his plans, he stood in front of his house, only to spot the elegant Suyeon. She actually had something to give him, and was patient enough to wait. Suyeon whips out a first aid kit, but really it's a pack of painkillers and some other antibiotics that can never be bought without prescription. It's a special gift. Seongho is really stunned by her gesture. The doctor also ends up revealing her address, but she's already done the part of writing it down in the pouch. Again, our boy's confused why she's doing all that, but this cute doctor thinks it's only natural that she shares her location in return for knowing him. By the way, I'm Team Suyeon because Mikyung just seems like an off-brand Chahain like I said earlier. Bidding him farewell, Suyeon hastens for her appointment with the director. As she's walking away, suddenly she remembers one last thing. Suyeon smiles and reminds him to pay for the medicine. She gave him the address for a reason after all. After hearing that, Seongho is dead lost. He just can't figure out Suyeon's intentions, or read her behavior at all. With their parting, time flew by. During those hours, our boy walked all over the city, collecting different stuff from different stores. Then he went on to create a proper storage facility, and after adding sandwich panels, he was ready to load some of his stuff inside. Remember that mini excavator that he booked? Seongho began using that to the max for his construction work. Eventually, the state of the world grew more climactic. Chaos from the public, jumbled politics, arguing over the truth, and skeptics going back and forth. All of these factors led to an emergency meeting with the UN, talking about the President of the United States' plans to visit Korea. And at long last, the HSA sensed something that they couldn't have fathomed ever before. On top of everything that was going to happen, the asteroid to kickstart the zombie era was blazing its way to Earth. 4 days later, Seongho finds himself at the Gamcheon port, staring at the luscious oceanic scenery. This is where the final backstory or precursor event called the Russian ship event will take place. After making sure that absolutely no one was around, Seongho entered an abandoned building to make last-minute preparations. Here he casts open the gate, explaining his reason to come here despite the high probability of becoming a zombie. He wants to obtain a bunch of different guns from the ship. The thing about zombie spores is that they're pathogens in the form of particle beams. It's not something you can easily avoid. Becoming a zombie here or 5 days later didn't make a difference at all, especially not to someone who didn't live with his family. Seongho understood that he could always live in the other world with Dingo, but then his life would have no meaning to his existence as a human. Wrapping up his preparations, he gets to work, clarifying that he isn't out here for a suicide mission. He's just making a choice many others would never be brave enough to make, a choice of choosing the high road for a higher gain. That's what life is anyway. Seongho checks the patch notes about this part of the story and assumes the 10-point weapon is an ebony club, but it makes him wonder how weak the state of the zombies will be at this part of the game. There will also be point influences after the asteroid's arrival. The details are written with so much confidence that it's certain that the game creator knew all of this would happen. Seongho was on his phone when the situation got worse. He receives an emergency text regarding a tsunami warning linked to the third precursor phenomenon. In the next scene, the water touches the shoreline, going higher with every pulse. Out in the ocean, there's a ship that is literally being tossed with the waves. Seongho realizes that the water has flooded the city, and now he's left with the choice of beating monsters or zombies. Watching the ship closely, he shares how hopeless natural disasters made humans feel. Still, he had to operate in this level of chaos and make his next move using his boat. Seongho runs at full speed while supporting his craft, before jumping straight down a building, knowing he is short on time. He needed to resolve all of this before the arrival of government agents. Sometime later, he anchors himself with the ship. So far, things are okay. The thing about Awakeners is that they don't become zombies, which means Kyung-hoon was surprisingly right about his theory. In fact, our boy doesn't even feel an annoying sensation. That's good news already, so he climbs the ladder for the second phase of the plan. Here, zombies are lurking about on the ship. He calls for them and draws their attention. Bro has come here in shorts with a shield and a mace looking like a Power Ranger. The zombies in the game were always special in their properties. Because of the game, they couldn't spread the virus, but they treated everything around them as prey. They also had a propensity to become stronger with more nutrients absorbed. Seongho charges right back at the zombies and smashes one of them with his shield. After tackling the first one, he takes his mace and begs the zombie to brace its jaw. And then this man goes on to give him really good plastic surgery by smashing his face. With how easy these two went down, Seongho wonders if the zombies were nerfed too hard. He gains 2 points, and remembers how it required at least 2 or more hits to kill a zombie before, but not only needed one. Remembering what happened with the orcs, he refuses to let his guard down. Making that kind of mistake twice was going to cost him his life. Next, Seongho checks on the hallway and finds a bunch of zombies trapped inside. Some are walking around, so he quickly goes up ahead and starts bullying them left and right. Seongho's goal is to find a pistol, so he sets his sights on the wheelhouse. But then he hears a gunshot, shocking him completely. There's no way someone managed to survive the zombies of the ship. Rushing towards the source of the noise, Seongho admits that non-awakeners are randomly lucky after coming in contact with awakeners and surviving the spores because of them. His priority is to save this person so he can get more information. But the moment he arrives, the poor guy is already dead. This person has a picture of his loved one in his hands right before he died. Naruto Uzumaki couldn't become the 7th Hokage in this universe, but it's a great help to Seongho that he could take this guy's gun for himself. Then he lays him out flat for a proper rest and exits the room. Being accustomed to tragedy is something Seongho needed to get used to, as it will become commonplace after the tragedy. It is natural that he would have to kill people of his own kind just to maximize his own chances of survival. While he's untying the anchor, Seongho astonishes himself when he sees someone jet skiing on the side. This means that just like him, another player is here to farm points. They cross paths, but our boy exits the ship with what he needs. He doesn't care much about the person going there at all. The following day, it's early morning when the news starts talking about the disappearance of the game developer. No one can find this guy for answers, and ever since the president received proof of zombies, he's been taking decisive action non-stop. To summarize, Seongho thinks that the leader of their country thinks in a very similar manner to him. Remembering one last thing, our boy calls Lee Woobium, the administrator at the countermeasure headquarters. Immediately, our boy drops the bombshell of the exact time of the doomsday to begin. To confirm his identity, Seongho mentions the gunshot wounds he inflicted on the hobgoblin. Woobium is startled that this is actually the same player. Our boy makes him write important details at light speed, mentioning stuff like the exact date, the exact hour, and even the situation of a package arriving in the afternoon. Seongho hopes that the countermeasures department does well with this new information, and he wishes them great luck for the war to come. The president pulled off quite the decisive move. People on the forum community began to realize that the situation was getting worse and worse. Internet and electricity wasn't going to last long, though Seongho could only take these opinions with a grain of salt. He's unsure if all of this is really going to happen. But then an announcement is made, informing citizens to prepare a good amount of food and water for 4 days and return back to their families. The military is actively patrolling and demanding the people to stop all activities immediately. A proper statement will be issued by July 20th. Seongho observes all of this and thinks that this is the perfect response. He feels bad for not informing the people sooner about the state of the world to come. If he had only known how well the government would have handled all of this, then he would have gone all out from the beginning and exploited his trait. It seems like a huge miss, but Seongho copes by admitting that he still wouldn't have been able to stop the disaster. There is no point for him to dwell on what could have happened, only that he must remember his own promise. First of all, he's not some hero of justice, nor does he want to be. He's just an ordinary guy. Afterwards, we learn that the lockdowns and quarantines shook the state of the world and made it impossible to navigate. That's why Seongho spent his days in the other dimension. 3 days before the start of the apocalypse, he finished digging, but at a slow rate. He also chalked up all the videos he saved up regarding cooking and farming, because the internet won't exist soon enough. 2 days before the apocalypse, he scouted around the area with Dingo, and felt lucky finding a few golden apples. This made him wonder if this whole place was enchanted, and if it was blessed with being a fertile land. One final problem came up a day before the apocalypse. Apparently, Seongho found 2 packs of sweet potato jellies missing from his storage. There's also a dried grape here. The obvious assumption is that Dingo ate the jellies, but the honest dog shakes its head and denies his involvement. Seongho takes a teasing and forceful tone to get the truth out of him, but this poor little baby wails around, crying to prove its innocence. Smash a like on this video, justice for Dingo. Seongho now understands that it wasn't his little furball, but someone else. He decides to check the CCTV footage just to see what really happened. Seongho checks his laptop, astonished to discover a bunch of beetles invading his place through the doggy door. They took the jelly and left the grape as a payment. I don't know about you guys, but that is the cutest shit I've seen all day. The beetle even turned to thank the camera, signifying that these little guys are tremendously smart. Seongho's curiosity is getting the better of him, and now he really wants to interact with a couple of these guys. Just to be safe though, he locks the doggy door, much to Dingo's sadness. Our boy can't spend more time here in this world because of a few guests soon to meet up with him, so he opens the dimensional portal and goes back. In the next scene, Seongho is sat with all prominent party members and his friends, surprised that they all made it safely even with the lockdown. He spots an unfamiliar face again and learns that the new guy is the final addition to the team. This charming Prince Charming is Yuhyun, and he's already awakened. Unfortunately, he doesn't know much about the game, but he is an electrical engineering student, so he's got a lot of hands-on experience. Seongho loves this guy's addition and introduces himself as a non-awakener. Both are very polite when meeting each other. Anyway, Seongho wants to wrap up the important stuff quickly. He wants everyone to go through any information they have one by one, starting with Jimbro Hungjun. Walmart Yuji over here starts off by sharing an experience about his ex-wife. They were talking when the line was cut. Worried, he went searching for his daughter, but on his way back, he spotted a bunch of barricades being put up on the highway. According to his investigation, Hyungjun learned that they were trying to evacuate citizens near the petrochemical complex. It's the elegant doctor's turn next, who shares one piece of important information. Soohyun saw a shelter being built in the local park, which is shocking to witness, but it's actually true. Mikyoung's up next. She was at the mart when she heard something about high-ranking officials opposing the president's decision. Apparently, the protesting officials were all detained. All of these findings are way more valuable than Seongho initially assumed. The ending was approaching, and the president's stance was pretty clear. He knows what's going to happen. So the big question is, why did he start off asking one by one? It's because in a network, it's important to have corresponding reasons according to someone's information. He could very well expose himself as a veteran and persuade them that way, but that would put him in great risk personally. Seongho starts talking, urging everyone to listen well to what he's about to say. Then he boldly declares the president's ultimate goal of creating a controlling apocalypse. His words immediately stun every person in the room. Seongho backs up his logic by mentioning the unexplained lockdowns and how all national facilities went to a halt. There's only one reason why the government would make such drastic changes in such a short amount of time. Suyeon puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that the end is near. She catches on quickly and deduces that the government is already confident of the exact day the apocalypse will unleash. Seongho confirms this and dubs July 20th as the suspected day. Panicking, Yuhyun gets up to inform his family, only for our boy to shout at him. He doesn't want these losers to lose their minds. Even if it sounds cruel, individual survival meant infinitely more than one's family. Seongho coldly reminds every person in the room that any one of them could turn into a zombie starting from tomorrow, so the terror of death is looming over all of them. Addressing the main point, he pulls out a bunch of files, acknowledging the real reason he called them here. It's because he's got a strategy for the tutorial phase, as well as detailed info on the survival aspect. Hyungjin questions his source of information, prompting Seongho to respond that he's watched the streams. He even apologizes to Mikyoung for lying all this time, but she's fine because she did the same to him. But thanks to these files, the information can be used according to their needs. At the same time, Seongho begs them to follow the manual strictly just to clear the tutorial phase. After their meeting, midnight followed. This was going to be the final day of the world knowing peace before being sent to hell. Seongho had prepared for 32 days straight, leveling up in every domain to better his chances. Still, he thought there were imperfections, and that his anonymous status could easily end up in his own downfall later on. Even then, this valiant young man has no regrets, having made confident moves. Seongho watches his country launch missiles towards the approaching asteroid, coming in contact with the foreign object. He wonders if the end of the world is truly the ultimate unavoidable fate for humanity. The apocalypse has officially begun. Morning came and alongside, the lockdowns disappeared. All prep work by Seongho was completed. He installed bulletproof glass and high-strength durable doors. Then he followed the usual routine of injecting a small amount of poison, honing his resistant capability. Then this man did a workout, and I'm not bullshitting. He's doing 300 one-arm push-ups while being poisoned. Saitama cannot compete with this man's work ethic. Seongho switched into combat gear, looking fly as hello, then shared breakfast with his doggy. He waited for the announcement at 9, dozing off even. Suddenly the hour came and the television came on. The president sat to announce to his citizens. An overwhelming announcement declaring martial law, closing roads among other things. Seongho was so moved and impressed with the president's decisions that he thinks no other man could have possibly given their country a better ending. Seeing this sad state of him, he clutches the remote, unable to accept the ultimate end. Still, it's not like this fate can be avoided. It's something that humanity has to endure and survive. Only this time, Seongho won't be new to the apocalypse, but will enter it like a veteran who knows it all. 4 hours remain until the spores make contact. 2 of them were spent in the other world where he checked on his warehouse farmed items. Here, our boy set up equipment for the days that will come after the iron disease. Well, while he was spending time in the other world, humanity fell. Chaos rampaged as people hurt each other. Fights broke out between civilians. Nobody cared about anything anymore. This fatty was even hanging around with his butt cheeks out. He was ready for death, and a car hit him to send him to hell. Some people enjoyed killing others without remorse. The world was coming to an end after all. Side note, I'm really curious about how you guys would have handled a world-ending apocalypse like this. Tell me in the comments below. The blonde punk was behind the wheel and didn't even give a damn that this dude died. His friend thinks it's fine to get rid of the car because the iron disease is gonna wipe out all vehicles soon enough. The other guy points his bat towards the rooftop, calling out the loser who's spying on them quietly. He has personal feelings towards our boy, and he wants to farm Seongho for points. Seongho doesn't get why this guy is acting all high and mighty, but he does spot flyers popping from the sky. Even at the edge of the apocalypse, the government is worried about its people. It's amazing to see them caring about others, unlike Seongho himself, who is ruthlessly selfish about personal survival. He knows that if more people acted for the interest of others, the apocalypse would be easy to deal with. Crushing the paper, he reflects on how this is an unrealistic standard. All he has to do is get back to his preparations. In the next scene, hardly 3 minutes remain until the spores make contact with the world. Seongho has collected a bunch of air tanks and wonders if there'll be enough before the disease takes over. He's already memorized every single route when it comes to replenishing his goods from the city. Looking at his watch makes Seongho wonder what would happen if he forgot to take it off. At this point, even he knows that he's worrying too much. So he keeps things simple and puts on the helmet. It's 1 p.m., so the spores have now made contact. Seongho resolves himself, kickstarting his bike and hoping that everything goes according to his plans. The scene shifts to the rise of the infection. The spores have begun affecting regular citizens. Life is sucked out of the people, and eventually flesh-eating corpses are all that's left. These growling purplish monsters are drawn to a certain noise. Seongho is racing full speed ahead against some of the zombies. Much to his surprise, there aren't that many in this area. It's a good thing, because most of the people who turned into zombies ended up staying home, dying alongside their families. The only part that intrigues him is to find someone who didn't turn into one. Still, things aren't looking bad. He sees a clear path ahead, taking a shortcut, knowing that it's better to avoid zombies while he's busy farming. The good thing? The stores still have the shutters up. This makes it easy to shatter the glass using his sledgehammer, which he does before going inside. Seongho commands the portal, knowing that he has to make quick moves. He grabs whatever he needs, knowing that it's going to take a while for the spores to fully mind control the zombies. His best bet is to raid the hardware store before that coordinated zombie assault begins, which would help him avoid any fights. By the way, our boy is currently tossing everything he can get his hands on. Bro floods his dog with a swarm of medicine. With the pharmacy fully raided, Seongho checks on his progress and realizes that he's actually moving much faster than he planned. Or so this dude thought. because the moment he arrives at the hardware store, he finds double layers of security. Again, he knew this would happen. That's why he brought the tanks with him. Seong-ho turns on the focused heat of the oxygen cutter. One small problem, this thing is way too loud, drawing surrounding zombies. Just taking one look around, Seong-ho remembers that even though their tracking senses were nerfed in the game, it only took them a few moments to locate the source of the noise. An entire horde had cornered him, spelling his doom. Seong-ho had seen it during the Russian ship incident, so he was already prepared. The zombies in front of him were in the earliest form, which meant they only absorbed nutrients and were easy to fend off. With the approaching zombies, he lunged full speed with his mace, knowing that he was strong enough to take them down. Wham goes the first one with a heavy blow, as Seong-ho knows even a newbie could deal with them if they target the correct points. Two more zombies charged at him. He bashed the skull of one and smashed the other with another swing. From Seong-ho's own experience, the game's difficulty has been exceedingly lowered in real life. Each kill secures him 2 points, allowing him to easily farm them. The real question is what he should do about the rest of the horde. As a strategist, his first tactic is to lure them into an alley so he could prevent being swarmed. However, his current movement is restricted because of his goals. Conveniently, he's carrying an oxygen cutter on him, so he quickly grabs that, believing that it will be best to nuke them all at once. The horde approaches him while he blocks them with his shield, reminding the bastards of one simple warning. The only reason he avoided these meat-eating, brain-dead, ugly-ass sons of bitches is because he didn't want to waste his precious farming time. As he smashes their faces in, Seong-ho declares that he was never even scared of them in the first place. Bro's big talk kinda rage baits them, so they all jump his ass together like they did with Sukuna. But our boy's got that Gojo teleportation speed and escapes pretty fast. He aura farms, sharing how he's the only player to have spent 5,500 hours into that shithole of a game, so obviously he won't be taken down. With no ghouls around, Seong-ho thinks it's laughable for the zombies to even assume the idea of defeating him, especially when they're all disorganized. After a shield slam, he takes out all the zombies in front of him, amused to get his entertainment. As a final reward for the circus show he just experienced, Seong-ho lights his light for the blowtorch. With a pile of their dead bodies resting nicely for him, our boy is looking forward to blowing them up into oblivion. With his big fight concluding against the zombies, Seong-ho got all his loot from the hardware store and made the police station his next destination. When he got here, all the good stuff in the armory had been looted. Bro was out here playing PUBG and Fortnite in real life, realizing he was too late. Instead of feeling disappointed, Seong-ho ended up locating an interesting corpse with a backpack. He opened it up to check the contents and found a whole bunch of goodies, including guns, tasers, and transmission devices. His journey continued towards the 4th farming location. Things were going well. It's all thanks to the detection skill he picked up from the hobgoblin, and thanks to his well-invested points in perception and handiwork attributes, he could glide past the zombies without getting caught by them. The zombies were beginning to learn how to gather, but he'd already arrived at the motorcycle shop. Again, everything was gone except an ATV, so he tossed everything into it alongside his supplies. It's here he also inspected his stats from the other world, even deciding to go back to his dimension for a short break and getting rid of debuffs. Even now, Seong-ho knew his gate ability was a cheat code. After, he went back to the real world, questioning what location he should pick next. And that's when 2 clowns appeared, spotting him and taunting him for lacking powers. Basically, they were bullying a non-awakened person, and this bastard even fired off his lightning ability right at our boy's crotch. Seong-ho saved his glow stick and titanium balls, sliding back and realizing that this dude's creepy obsession with him is getting a bit too much. Navigating his options, our boy accesses the dimensional gate for a counter. Meanwhile, one of the punks was keeping watch to clear the surrounding zombies. Seong-ho wondered if he should kill them, since that is the easiest part. The guy walked up to him with daring confidence, but our boy was calmly thinking about the tutorial stage and how it wouldn't even classify him with the murderer status this early in the game. But in the off chance the label did apply, it still wouldn't matter because the first kill is always counted as a warning by the system. With those thoughts in mind, Seong-ho teleports using his transparent gate, confusing his opponent. Though our boy could easily make this blonde soy boy into his victim, he still struggles with the idea of killing someone in real life. Because of that, he merely grabs the punk from behind, rear choking him as the dude realizes Seong-ho's also an awakener. Our boy straight up asks the punk why he's after him. Turns out this dumbass thinks that he stole Seong-ho's girlfriend, recalling how he even saw Seong-ho on the bed with her once. Bro gives him a backshot kick and puts him down, declaring that this was going to be his final warning. Seong-ho shares that he has a strict policy of not harming the innocent, but the punk scoffs at him for acting like that. He thinks the two of them are in the same position. Both of them are selfish who only care about themselves. Saying so, he fires a shot from his weapon, only for our boy to aura farm again and weave that shit like he got ultra instinct. Seong-ho fully agrees with the blonde instead of opposing him, and thanks to this guy stupidly yapping his mouth, he now has full clearance to kill him. So he grabs the punk's head, assuring the punk that he's just as trash as them. All this time, Seong-ho just never wanted to admit those words, and then he shatters this guy's jaw. Holy chills because finally a protagonist with balls. In the game, Seong-ho had fought over 100 death matches, and though he'd been killed in all of them, the feeling doesn't compare to his shivering body at the thought of killing someone in real life. At the same time, the other coward comes along, but instead of killing him, Seong-ho advises him to watch his back. That's because zombies were already pouncing on this guy, and they were about to feast on Budget Bertolt from Attack on Titan. The guy ends up getting torn apart by the zombies, while Seong-ho internalizes his deepest and only concern to selfishly preserve his own being. He refused to help this guy even when he begged for it, because deep down, a ruthless murderer like him knew that there were people in this apocalypse that shouldn't be spared. Let's talk in detail about the murderer system of Asura. It's a concept that was introduced 3 months into the game's launch to prevent trolling. The original intention was good, but the rules were trash. The first ever murder would always end up in a simple warning because the developers feared losing the players. It was only after the third murder that the game would reprehend the player. In the end, anyone who killed was declared a murderer, and for the second kill, if it wasn't by full intent, the game would analyze the case and make a judgment for a player's involvement. Because of that, some could cheat the system too. The big question was, why did players become murderers? It's because of money and gaining stats, even stealing skills of others. The special abilities added in the game became a huge motivation for the players to become greedy. The same boring survival game became a paradise for such psychotic players. While there were many advantages to this approach, it also became costly. After becoming a murderer, players had a set condition to keep killing, and at some point, a death field would cage them. A death field could be activated with 3 or more players activating a barrier, and inside it, players had to fight to the death. Bro's buddies were out here doing some gay shit, but ignoring that, they beat the ever-living crap out of the murderer. You might be wondering, isn't this more advantageous for the murderer? But the catch is, the game was full of veterans later in the game, so any troller would instantly get executed by a higher level player. After becoming a murderer, a person is supposed to feel a distinct heartbeat, but our boy doesn't feel anything at present. His theory is proven correct. The system didn't apply any changes because the tutorial hasn't arrived. This means Seung-ho could go around massacring people for at least a few hours before the tutorial hit them, but he quickly warded off that thought, thinking it would be freaking insane for him to do that. Instead of going batshit crazy, he chooses to follow his goals. From then until now, Seung-ho's only priority has been one and the same: to respond to unfairness with unfairness. Basically, Lelouch's kill evil with greater evil philosophy from Code Geass. Tossing his stuff in the gate, Seung-ho highlights that the only time he will kill people is when he needs to follow his principle. The scene cuts to around 4 p.m. where he's busy scouting a bunch of zombies outside a warehouse. They're annoyingly staying at the same place because of the people inside fighting each other. The two parties are threatening each other to get out, except going outside is also a problem because of the horde. One guy calls out the other party's idiocy for expecting them to leave. Red hoodie wearing punk thinks he's some top dog, but he's so much of a pussy that even Walmart Higuruma thinks the guy can't shoot. Provoked, the guy fires his crossbow, emphasizing that he had a specialty to shoot in the game. Hilariously, the shot actually hits the other dude's shoulder, making him whine in pain. His buddies come up to help him, while the other dude takes pride in being ruthless in the apocalypse. After all, the game's all about the survival of the fittest. He wants these guys to disappear from sight, or else they'll keep on shooting. In the end, the 3 of them have to comply and leave. As they're leaving, these thugs even call them restarted. Opening the door, the 3 of them decide to leave a parting group for these assholes, banging the door to attract the attention of the horde. After making a whole bunch of noise and scaring off these imbeciles, the group runs off to a different direction. Seung-ho watches them run off, shocked to see an interesting turnaround. He's so impressed that he wants to give this guy a gift if they ever run into each other in the future. Back to our boy's side, he's finished with all the loot farming other than his apartment and infantry area. There's only about an hour left until the tutorial cycle. Seung-ho wonders where he should head first and decides to change the order. He crosses into the other world to wrap things up. Let's all stop to think about the place where the zombies are most concentrated in the game. That location is none other than the place having the most amount of nutrients for consumption. In other words, marts and groceries. That's why such places are best recommended to avoid. But veterans who have invested good hours into this game have a different strategy, like our boy, who is pouring petrol around the lot. Even though the early game doesn't have many resources, he wants to increase some of his level. Basically, bro's gonna blow zombies up as much as possible to get to level 10 before the tutorial hits. He'll get the shop, but after clearing up his task, he's getting a reality check. After the original Iron Disease breakout, the whole area is going to be covered in oil regardless, so maybe he really ended up wasting his resources. Then again, Seung-ho doesn't think of it as a huge loss. He believes Dingo will enjoy it after all. He's got a bunch of time before the tutorial begins. Our boy pets our favorite doggy and instructs him to do as they practiced. With a single gesture, Dingo dashes full speed ahead to complete his goal. The meat-eating zombies are busy chomping down to notice a little furball pouncing away at them. Dingo escapes them with agility, swiftly cutting past the horde with no difficulty. The little one reaches for the door, breaking it open and forcing the horde to chase after him. Seung-ho watches him exceeding his expectations. Now that the dog has lured the horde out, Dingo dashes into his portal while Seung-ho throws his lighter to end it all. The horde watches in confusion as the lighter hits the floor soaked in petrol, blowing them all into smithereens. W in the chat for Dingo. With this collective kill, our boy's level shoots up to 11, netting another 116 points, with a new dimensional slot ability added to his trait. By the evening, he'd finished farming groceries from the market and other computer towers. He even summoned a portal in the middle of the road, knowing that the buildings were soon going to be demolished. After, he crossed over to the other world with the same bike that would no longer see its usage here. Seung-ho changed all his equipment to non-metallic, keeping a fiber stab-proof vest and a helmet. He came to his training ground, a kilometer away from his base. With the equipment set aside, he wrapped up his preparations. The final look is fine, as Seung-ho doesn't feel much of a difference not having any buckles or zippers. 3 minutes until doom, and an eerie feeling grasps at him. He knows his portal only allows him and his possessions to enter, And with further analysis, our boy even confirmed that both the spores and wire disease would logically spread through wind. Spores are harmful to humans and will take them out, but the iron wire disease is going to destroy objects. Neither is safe, and Seongho needs to be ready for that. He's back to the training ground, far away from his base, surrounded by wooden dummies. Worrying isn't going to help him, and he knows that. After all, even if his gear collapses, he'd just need to run fast enough to get to safety. Shivering, Seongho places his focus on his goal and opens the portal again. 3 seconds remain, until finally, the iron wire disease strikes the country. Within moments, everything is annihilated. Everything. Buildings crumble to dust. Skyscrapers topple. Towers slice apart. This metal plague in the game is the reason that humanity couldn't rebuild its civilization. Everything crumbled in the blink of an eye. Seongho watched from his portal, watched how humanity reverted back to the Stone Age. No hope left. Even though he'd prepared his resolve, watching it happen before his eyes is a more terrifying experience. Do you guys think you'd survive this apocalypse? Tell me in the comments below. A loud explosion shakes him. Seongho suspects that the ammunition depot blew up, but then he realizes that it's actually the iron beads that he needs to care for first. Luckily, nothing has happened to them. Seongho's comfort fades. He can't even call the current situation as remotely acceptable. Our boy closes the portal, fixating on his goal again, to merely follow the plan without any feelings and focus on preparation. Well, that was the goal, except when Bro got to the shelter, he was baffled again. The little beetles stood in excitement and waited. They had come to steal again, but Seongho didn't mind and took the route they were trying to offer him. He wonders if this is some kind of apology or a trade. The beetle nodded, even agreeing to the fact that they were making a fair barter. Even after taking a forceful tone and being angry at these little cuties, they still look at him with excitement and wonder. They're so cute that Seongho actually grows a weak spot and offers them a deal, sharing how he doesn't need food but special things from them. Of course, he knew their tiny brains couldn't comprehend his desires. After all, despite the intelligence of the beetles, it's not like they could actually understand each other. Suddenly, the red one took a stick and began scribbling in the dirt. Our boy's face drops in shock. The beetle is asking for a trade between ore and jelly. He loves that deal and agrees to it immediately. However, when our boy tries to reach for it, the little one smacks his hand for being hasty. Scheming together like a bunch of masterminds, they make their tiny plan. After the discussion, the red one agrees to the trade. Even the system remarks that the two parties have agreed to the trade, even requesting a formal contract. This is strange to our boy, who was expecting things to end without a contract like with his dog. This makes him realize that highly intelligent creatures can't merely be claimed as possessions. The contract outlines the names of the parties and the terms involved. It's actually super formal. These bugs probably did some kind of law degree from Harvard. With nothing to lose, Bro signs the contract, and only then, the contract treats the beetles as possessions. Seongho is confused, while the beetles are about to scatter away to fetch his loot. Our boy dashes back into his storage room to get them a bunch of goodies. For his new friends, he offers them the sweet potato jelly as a signing bonus. The beetles celebrate with love and excitement, having made friends with the considerate humans. Seongho tells them to eat well and to bring back even better goods. The cute side of him is coupled with a funny and threatening tone, as he shares his intention of chasing these bugs to the ends of the earth if they betray him. In the gaming world, the tutorial phase reigns supreme, commencing under a veil of a suffocating experience to come. Seongho made his necessary calculations to prepare for the tutorial phase, and quickly gathered his supplies. The things he looted from other people were impressive. These guys even had a ceramic knife, one safe from the disease. Even though our boy hasn't thought about hunting survivors, he has to make sure to search their base. After storing the gear he found, he snatched his PC tower and the hard drive he looted from the complex. Next, Seongho connected them together and scanned the data. The first thing he discovered was a ton of media inside the files, and while he was concluding his search, he found a site that dropped his jaw. Bro found Mikyoung's modeling picture, indicating she was an idol. Then again, she stood out among the common folk because of her looks, so it's normal to assume something was going on. Seongho decides to delete the file, recalling his memory of the times he shared with her. Having seen enough, our boy gets up to inspect the rest of the rewards he received for hitting level 10. Chanting shop window, he finds a blue screen with a whole bunch of valuables. The interface is the exact same as the one from the game. However, the prices have switched up a bit. Purchasing item number 6 and 11, Seongho sees them manifest out of thin air, functioning just like in the game. With this observation, he wonders if he can exploit a certain bug that was available during the tutorial part of the game. The next thing he does is inspect his new ability, Dimensional Slot, allowing him to retrieve a specific item from a tiny inventory box. Basically, a quick access slot with a space of 5 items. Calling all slots by name, Seongho has them summoned in front of him, astonished with the cubicle structures. Next, he tries storing, and realizes that he doesn't have to burn himself by carrying too much stuff. He could always access his gear from his quick slot instead of his portal. With all slots filled, Seongho shares how broken this ability is for the sake of scaling. It could help him a lot later in the game. He wants to leave, so he tells Dingo to keep watch, as it's finally time for our boy to go and finish the tutorial. In the next scene, Seongho's back to the ruined world. This time, it looks like a nuke took out an entire city. He was genuinely hoping to rely on his perception and terrain sensing abilities to help, but they're not enough. So he uses slot 3 to quickly grab a specific item. knowing that he could end up blind if he didn't use it now. These are the shade grapes, allowing one to temporarily increase a player's night vision. He pops a pearly one in his mouth and suddenly, Seongho's eyes illuminate a faint green-yellow. Thanks to this, he can see the zombies up ahead with clarity. Next, he needs to find a secure location in this hellscape. One of the key traits in this game is that it's extremely ruthless to the user experience. The game doesn't even notify you when events begin, but the tutorial is a key exception to this rule. This is mainly because the incoming hordes of zombies are the direct indication of the start of the tutorial. The main question is what could potentially trigger the zombie wall. That happens when you're spotted by any member of the undead army. But our boy is currently playing stealthy and sliding past them unnoticed. The second aspect is when a player picks up an item that activates the tutorial. In order to spawn such an item, our boy is making his efforts to stare at a specific empty spot. This is where the bug comes in, creating a blue crack into the floor, a glitch in the matrix. Seongho quickly snatches a weapon right before its generation, allowing him to duplicate a second version of the object. The best part? The same item in real life is actually cloned in the Ebony Wood Club variant from the shop, even better than the game. The rest of the patch notes of the game are unclear and shady, but this singular change is an excellent buff. Stashing it, Seongho hears the restlessness of the zombies from outside, who are making a commotion to get started. He gets outside the window, dashing all the way in to annihilate the first zombie. This man has no intention of hiding anymore, knowing they're unavoidable wherever he goes. With the tutorial begun, Seongho recalls the multiple paths to clear it. The first winning condition is to kill the zombies, repeatedly bash them like he's doing left and right, until every single creature is wiped from the map. Bro's out here being John Wick and obliterating them all. But if someone wants to avoid that kind of pain, the other option is to forcibly exit the wall of zombies. Our boy dashes up to it and jumps up, bashing a zombie right inside its chest. He then gains distance, backing off with disappointment. Bro wanted to speedrun the tutorial like his friends Togong and Ori, but he can't. However, it's not a huge deal. Seongho's a strategist, and his strategy for the tutorial is to run all the way up to the boss and crush it first, so that's what he's doing right now. Without wasting a single second, he ran for his life. It's not like Seongho didn't know where he was headed. Even in the designated tutorial area, there's a marked checkpoint system, and by going around the area, the boss immediately spawns. The only problem is that in real life, he's having trouble locating it. Shade Grape's effects are also gonna expire, so he needs to be fast. Seongho needs to locate a special building, recalling that it's supposed to be around a 3-kilometer radius from the starting point. He dodges several zombies, heading for a location that didn't have any at all. Finally, he spots it and dives right in. Luckily, his Shade Grapes only expired then. This spot is comfortable as the horde can't chase him here. Until then, he can rest until the boss respawns. Aside from that, Bro needs to get to the rooftop too in order to check what kind of enhanced monster he's gonna face. While he's internalizing such thoughts, Seongho sees a girl up the staircase. To both of their shock, it's Mikyung. In the next scene, we learn from Mikyung that all their party members luckily survived. What stuns him is her coming all the way here. Mikyung shares that they actually followed the manual. It was Kyung-hoon's advice on staying together. But the zombies came and ruined everything, running all the way here. Remember that dumbass troll? He went against our boys' guides and led them all the way here. Seongho is fed up and offers Mikyung some serious advice. He struggles acting like a non-awakener in front of her, and shares how the enhanced boss monster will spawn very soon. She is horrified thinking that he deliberately came to hunt the monster, but Bro pretends that he was actually chased all the way here. She chooses not to pursue the topic, while our boy explains that the defeat of the boss results in the zombies scattering. The zombie wall is dusted and the aggression disappears. Gimba Plover, basically Bro himself, once said that hiding or running after the defeat of the boss ends the tutorial. He even tells her that the boss will appear very soon, and right then, an electrical reaction takes off in one of the zombies' bodies among the horde. Mikyung wonders why it has tentacles, while Seongho is curious if she's noticed any personal changes. It's because enhanced zombies with special headpieces have abilities to seal certain traits. Hasting in fear, she pops open the status window, realizing that her special ability has been forcibly shut. By the way, the same case happens for even our boy. He asks her if she still trusts him like she said, to which Mikyung fully agrees, recalling how he's helped her so much. The good thing is that she's brought all the necessary items he told them to. With the preparations set, Seongho instructs her to remain on the rooftop and draw the attention of the zombies. As for him, he intends to personally take care of the enhanced zombie himself. While our boy is acting cool in front of her, he actually feels a real scare coming into the main battlefield. The boss is trait sealing and with its henchmen. The enhanced zombie really put him in a pickle, though Seongho believes it's only normal to expect. Even in the game, there weren't any early on traits, so the enhanced monsters didn't detect or seal them. The strategist became careless and forgot about the detail, regretting not putting his bow in slot 1. Shockingly, the moment he thinks of that, a bow pops up in his quick slide inventory. Seongho grabs it, wondering if his additional traits are working fine because the zombie isn't as high of a level as him. It's good fortune that he can at least access his quick slide inventory, so he takes out all the slot equipment, his shield and arrows. If the level of the boss is low, Seongho won't get any special skills or even drops. Unfortunately, for the effort he's gonna put in, this will be a huge loss. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. Linkin Park fans will get that reference. Mikyung from the rooftop starts shouting, drawing the attention of the zombies. She's got a flare activated to sell the act, helping Seongho achieve his goal. It's shocking to him that she's performing as well as she is. With her help, Seongho pulls back his string, having increased his stat points by 1, no longer experiencing a loss. Thanking the enhanced zombie, our boy releases the arrow at tremendous speed as it flies all the way down towards the creature's body. The arrow pierces past the monster, causing it to scream. Seong-ho couldn't take it down in one hit, so he personally jumps in to smash his first ever boss hunt. Using his shield, he slams the creature into the ground. Now that it is pinned with nowhere to run, he takes his weapon and smashes the monster's skull right in. The boss is killed, unsealing all the traits and netting our boy 10 points. Like he assumed there isn't any skill gain, Seong-ho hurriedly looks around for any drops. Luckily, he gets a Robotan bracelet item to boost his perception. Surprisingly, there's 2 of them, probably because of Mi-kyung, who comes running to him after getting rid of the zombies through her trait. This makes him realize that the item is actually for all the players for clearing the tutorial, and not because of the boss. With 17 additional points, Seong-ho realizes that it's because of the updated patch. Next, he gives her one of the items. Mi-kyung doesn't want it for her minor involvement, but he urges her to do so. He even wraps it around her hand, emphasizing how he only managed to clear it because of her. Seong-ho beams a smile with his eyes, wondering if they should head to the fitness club next. Mi-kyung notices the leaning building, and in the videos, our boy recalls at least 5 of the floors being fine. But despite it being not an instant threat, they needed to hurry. It could collapse at any moment, so Mi-kyung thought that she could inform the owner later. After they all gather, our boy wants to discuss the killer system with them. Suddenly, a man draws their attention. It's none other than our dashing Jimbro, Hyungjun. The 2 greet each other, happy that neither one of them turned into a zombie. Hyungjun wants to speak inside, believing he's got lots to share. With the party assembled, Seong-ho shares how they defeated a boss monster. They're all stunned, but he treats it casually, explaining how Mi-kyung played a huge role by drawing the attention of the other zombies. Still, even in a fight like that, Seong-ho taking on the boss alone is admirable from the others. Interestingly, the tutorial rewards didn't drop for Hyungjun or the others, except for the weapon they all get at the start. Jimbro recalls how there weren't any checkpoints in their finding either. Every single place was filled with zombies. This is confusing to our boy, who wonders if the difficulty of the tutorial is adjusted based on the level of the player, meaning each person has to complete different conditions for certain rewards. Seong-ho asks if they got any points aside from killing monsters. Apparently, helping Yuhyun got Hyungjun some points. It happened when he saved his life from a zombie. With this considered, Seong-ho now understands that even helping someone or escaping the zombie horde could result in free points. Mi-kyung realizes that it's easier for players to simply rely on non-combat related abilities now. But that aside, Jimbro curiously comes up to our boy to address the elephant in the room. They all want to know his trait. Even Hyungjun can remember that the system gave them all a trait. By the way, now that the game has become reality, apparently everyone has become awakened after clearing the tutorial, so Seong-ho's original trait was basically an early reward unique to him. The differences from the game and reality are boggling his mind. With how easy things are changing, Seong-ho can't rely on his knowledge or experience in the game anymore. What he's curious about is Mi-kyung's thoughts, who ended up getting an item from the tutorial like him. Jimbro reveals his special trait. Since he's a meathead, it's obvious that he got a physical enhancement. Yuhyun's case is interesting. Because of his experience as a doll maker, he has gained the ability to navigate and sense through dolls. Mi-kyung's ability is blink, and now that everyone's revealed their abilities, Bro's stuck and has to do the same. He genuinely doesn't want to reveal his trump card, but at the same time, doing will absolve him of any lies. The curious part is how his buddies will react. Based on his silence, Mi-kyung tries to talk to Hyungjun while our boy is busy being lost in his thoughts. He only wants to reveal his abilities when he reunites with his buddies that he trusts with all his life, the people who can adapt accordingly. As for the present, Seong-ho decides to be bold and lies again by saying his skill is called attack prediction. Yuhyun is excited because this implies Seong-ho won't be caught in any ambushes. However, our boy downplays himself by explaining how he can read the enemy's attack like an afterimage. Smoothly transitioning the topic, he asks for their next move. The coach wants to discuss things with Bora and the other guy, but for now, his goal is to level up and survive at the same time. The information Seong-ho gave them before Doomsday included information about the shop unlocking facilities. That's why Hyungjun intends to prioritize it, and then he'll kill the bastards who tried to touch Mi-kyung. Seong-ho is glad to see this guy acting up. It only means that sharing that information was worth it. Curious, Yuhyun barges in and asks about our boy's level, which is interestingly a strange question. The reason he's curious is because our boy ended up slaying the tutorial boss all alone. If he managed to do that, Yuhyun thinks it's because Seong-ho has been hunting zombies from the start. He's making a few more interesting observations when suddenly, Hyungjun comes along and starts rear choking him like no tomorrow. It's just my guess, but I'm starting to think that both Mi-kyung and Jimbro want to cover for our boy. Even Seong-ho can notice this, and realizes that they're looking out for him, to the point Hyungjun accidentally choked out the poor kid. With the discussion concluded, our boy wants to head back out for his solo mission. His homeboy stops him to share some snacks and binoculars Yuhyun made. It's handy equipment, and Hyungjun entrusts it with his buddy, recalling every other time he helped them. Hilariously, Bro even mentions his split with his wife at a strange time. At first, Hyungjun didn't want to state the embarrassing reason, but I kid you not, this meat-headed dumbass split with her because he didn't want to sacrifice his muscle. Every time he ate with his wife, he pretended to eat, and genuinely didn't want to lose his lean physique. Bro's such a gym bro, he left his wife for the gym, and his fucked up example is being mentioned just because he wants to advise Seong-ho to talk about the embarrassing things. Based on their reactions, Seong-ho is starting to realize that both his friends understand that he's lying to them. Right as Hyungjun turns to leave, our boy grabs his arm. adding that once their levels get closer and they get more experienced, he'll choose to survive alongside them. With that closure, Seong-ho distances himself from his buddies once more, assuring them on his return later. Shoveling snow, Seong-ho can't believe that it's gotten intensely cold when it's supposed to be hot at this time of the year. Bro is genuinely fed up with these insane changes, but at least he got all the necessary supplies into his storage bunker, or else things would have been screwed. Things don't look that bad. His defensive line unintentionally ended up getting reinforced thanks to the ice shards, so there won't be any goblins trying their luck here for a while. The original plan was for Seong-ho to dig a moat, but with the kind of cold he's experiencing, he understands that the ground is frozen, which means there's no point. Right now, he's got to organize the current situation and adapt his future plans. Let's go back to the purpose of the game. Survival Life is meant to be an only survival game. Players are supposed to equip up to 5 items at a time, with a convenient slot of 10 skills to store. When the limit is exceeded, the oldest skill is replaced, and that's the worst part. The player involved needed to be the dominant predator, doing all kinds of things to become ruthless in their lifestyle. But that logic only exists in the game. The real world will have confusing variables like Mikyung's arrival or Hyungjin's claim of not seeing any checkpoints. From these instances, our boy believes that a patch change must have occurred in a week where he didn't log in, so he's operating blind. That begs the question, how should Seong-ho manage his strategy right now? His plans haven't changed. The main goal stands the same. He wants to load up on supplies, get even stronger skills to ultimately survive. At the moment, he just has to do what he's always done best. In order to do that, he maps out a journey to the Otherworld's forest. Here, moat construction and owlbear extermination are necessary goals to secure the valley. In the real world, he intends to farm festival fireworks zones and keep a close eye on the villa party. For his mid to long-term goals, Bro tries to think, but his brain melds at the thought of being overwhelmed with work. Seong-ho is done thinking rigidly and wants to be fluid, so the moment it hits midnight, he'll head out to Gwangali to farm the fireworks zone. To focus on a simple mission, he readies his weapons. The scene cuts to a different location, where 2 people are bullying their subordinate for being so useless that he can't even open a can. The leader tries to whack some sense into him for talking back, but his side chick stops him. She sweet-talks him and suggests they grab a drink, but this man is terrified that Seong-ho must have survived somehow and also received an awakening. His primary goal is to kill our boy as soon as possible, not knowing that their target is casually overhearing this conversation, realizing that this dude is more obsessed than the girlfriend. He wonders if the goal here is to burn the house down. Seong-ho thinks there isn't any room for him to show leniency, even if this action puts him at risk. He exposes himself to the punks, who immediately aim their weapon at him for coming outside. The guy can't fathom why Seong-ho has come outside at this hour, but our boy simply reasons that it's safe at night because of the condition of the zombies. People can move freely as long as they avoid creepers at dawn. The other guy taunts him for being a newbie, acting like a big shot. He adds that the third condition for the zombies to appear is if they're at level 7 or higher. He's only at level 5, so keepers won't come out either. Our boy praises his knowledge, but confidently adds that the information that Inhak shared with him is actually a lie. While this fodder is confused with Seong-ho's words, my guy adds the element of surprise, scarily revealing that his new strategy is to raid their hideout instead of farming fireworks. Bro thinks Seong-ho's gone crazy and orders his lackeys to take him down. Suddenly, the trio is terrified by the approaching sound from their left. It's a keeper-class monster, haunting them down. Seong-ho runs off after baiting them while they continue to chase after him in hot pursuit. The idiot with some kind of speed buff is confident in catching up when suddenly, the dude slams his face into the invisible portal. The hit is so abrupt that he breaks his nose and hits the ground instantly. The others don't stop and continue to chase Seong-ho. By the way, the keeper ends up slaughtering that guy instantly. They choose to split up by going opposite ways, when suddenly the woman runs into a bonehead creeper at the verge of explosion. Unfortunately, it's far too late as she's obliterated to a million bits. With how many explosions I'm seeing, I'm surprised this story isn't directed by Michael Bay. The impact sends the arrogant punk on his knees. Now he's groveling to escape, not even knowing where everything went wrong. The keeper is about to savor his flesh, but with a little bit of resilience, he smashes his weapon as best he could into its head. The creature barely moves its neck, experiencing no damage from the hit. The game is over. The nightmarish monster extends its jaw so wide that the pitiful punk loses all hope and accepts his fate. And then chomp goes to his head, ending the scum of the earth. With the beautiful end, our boy comes along with his rifle to aim at the creature from his portal. To deal the finishing blow, Seong-ho pulls the trigger. The shot goes straight through from the creature's back, and watching it merely stagger instead of collapse from the hit suggests that even the bullets he's firing are weakening because of the disease. Despite that, it's not like there's no damage. The gun's a rifle, so Bro's hammering down the monster with consecutive shots, repeatedly blasting the creature until it drops dead. Both his targets were now killed, increasing his level to 12, netting 20 points, and acquiring terrain detection skill again. Even though he killed a person using indirect means this time, to Seong-ho, the intent remains the same, and so does the burden. Cheol-chun is dead, but he won't be resenting anything from his grave, as our boy picks up his stuff and leaves, calling him trash just like he himself is. After that incident, the rest of the farming for the day proceeded smoothly. Seong-ho broke into Cheol-chun's hideout, and though he didn't expect much, the guy had plenty of things that could be sold later at the auction house. Besides, Cheol-chun would have died of natural causes even if our boy didn't murk his ass. Near Gwangali, Seong-ho ended up obtaining his fireworks for the festival. Thanks to his little pup's help, they even managed to sneak around avoiding monsters because of his level. The rest of the sleeping zombies could easily be taken out, earning him more points and making leveling up that much easier. In one night, Seong-ho had jumped to 14. He was progressing well, but there's still one problem. Shortly after wrapping up his farming around 7, he came to a realization from Cheolchin's hideout. Moving supplies is a real pain in the ass from one location to another, and because it's snowing in the other world, bro's stuck and can't temporarily toss the things inside his gate either. The problem is, it's risky to accidentally create a spark, because the entire shelter would obliterate itself. Even storing these places underground brings their own troubles, so the safest choice is to keep them here. Next on his list, bro plans to head to the Villa District to check on Suyan's condition. He'll also have time to investigate Kyungjun's hideout in the meantime. Suddenly, a faint sound of rain draws his attention coming from outside. He peeks out from a slide, questioning what the hell is going on this time. Then came a typhoon storming the real world for 2 whole days, allowing our boy to return to the other world to finish the digging of his moat. It's here that Seongho realized any excessive movements would put him in danger in the cold. A whole day passed just like that, and when he finally came around finishing the moat, bro was done with life and didn't want to touch anything again. The pleasant thing is that the weather slowly warmed up, reducing the ice fragments until they totally collapsed. Peace has been achieved after the brutal cold, a sunny temperature normal for human beings. With the brutal cycle ended, bro checks on the typhoon situation outside and watches literal tornadoes annihilating the city. The Awakeners in the real world have their movement restricted because of it, so this allows our boy enough time to focus on the next part of his plan. In the same other world, he heads deep into the forest. By the way, guns were actually the ultimate cheat code in a game like Survival Life. It wasn't really a special reason, it's just that they were introduced late into the game and could only be unlocked after the metal plague resolved. Suddenly, Dingo senses something and heads right, only for our boy to find the owlbear casually sitting by a lakeside. The little guy made navigation incredibly easier for Seongho with the perfect route. Aside from his dog, Seongho himself feels a huge change from his perception and terrain sensing stats, allowing him greater command of scanning the environment. The vicious owlbear slaps the water to pour out fish and devour them, but it still hasn't caught on to our boy's lingering presence. With 15 bullets left, Seongho took aim with his most ambitious kill yet. This creature was even more powerful than a keeper, so even with bullets that aren't weakened in the other world, he would have to fire a minimum of 7 shots to kill the monster. And with no way to stock up on bullets right now, Seongho has to precisely use them with efficiency. He pulls the trigger as the first shot staggers the monster's neck area, provoking it immediately. With a murderous glare, the monster looks back at its target with great disdain, only to find that there's no one hiding in the trees. Already having secured his second ambush spot, Seongho fires off 2 more shots, one piercing the owlbear's left shoulder and the other piercing its right leg. Both hits invite a cry of pain from the predator, but finally, Seongho has crippled the creature enough to meet him at eye level. With both predators staring each other down, Seongho provokes the bastard owl to come at him. Enraged, the monster rages like a bull in his direction. Chanting his slot numbers, Seongho calls out both items he needs in his hands. He takes the lighter to prepare the fireworks and throws it like a yorker. At the same time, he commands the use of his shield from his inventory, and right when the owlbear is about to claw him, the firework explodes, blinding the creature and drawing its attention. The predator is fully engulfed by the piercing light exploding inches away from its face, temporarily blinding its vision. Just like last time, this is Seongho's strategy to defeat the higher level species. Now's his chance. So using slot 4, he goes right for the kill with a driver melee, declaring the end of the creature's reign in the valley. With cold-blooded eyes, he pierces the owlbear with an agonizing stab. And just like that, the fierce predator is slain, netting him 25 points and boosting him up to level 15. Seongho acquires Soundless Movement as his new skill, with more slots in the dimensional slot added. Defeating the monster leaves him completely exhausted, allowing our boy enough time to inspect the details of the skill. Despite the huge kill, he doesn't feel like the rewards are worth the effort. But the best part is, the claws of the owlbear can be sold handily as weapon material. Accessing slot number 5, Dainaiji the Chainsaw Man. Seongho intends to gather as many resources as possible by cutting up the creature's remains. After all that hard work, bro savors the meat and enjoys its premium taste. Dingo has already had 5 pieces and still wants more, so Seongho throws a fish into the little rascal's mouth. He really wants the cute thing to grow up fast so they can make new combos and even help him solo hunt. Interestingly, our boy notices that the furball actually did grow in size. With their bellies full, it's time for the gang to start moving again. Seongho is curious about the auction house skill, which he acquired after accessing level 15. The house features are simple. A fee of 10% applies flat, with 2 options to list or retrieve items. The fee was only 5% in the game though, so it's quite the rip-off here. Tapping on retrieve items, our boy notices a shocking detail. Someone has already listed an item before him, which meant there's a dude out there so strong that he climbed up to level 15 faster than our boy. Seongho composes himself understanding that some awakeners are naturally blessed with combat-style traits, so them being higher level than him would be completely normal because our boy's gate skill isn't for combat. To inspect the details of the listed item, Seongho opens the comment section, only to find the owner's comments who felt annoyed that they leveled up way too fast. They are even using a note to beat up keepers today, and from the typing style alone, Seongho has a good guess on who this person is. In the game, remaining anonymous meant great things. Because of that, fat losers would dress up as pretty girls as gamers do, completely altering their voices with voice changers too. The global chat was the only place where players could recognize IDs, but if not that, players could hide this key information forever. The main issue for the veteran player base is that they don't really operate in the direction of the developers. The fact that this auction lister mentioned XS at the end of his comment indicates that he's the biggest attention seeker out there. Seongho decides to keep it simple and voice messages a simple greeting. The person quickly asks who this player is, stunning our boy with how similar this guy's personality is from the game. Revealing his game tag as Gimba Plover, Seongho curiously waits for the other person's response, thinking that they might distrust his words. The person laughs, before going ballistic on him for waiting so long for his return. The person acts as if Seongho's working along with the president, only to discover that he isn't. They all thought he's the one trying to save the country by distributing flyers, and Seongho agreed to share this information with the government. He's confident that some other person is working alongside the government with knowledge of the game. By the way, the dude is revealed to be shredded, and understands that revealing one's trait is practically suicide in the game. It's hilarious that this guy's username is Rabbit Princess while being so jacked. The same guy surprisingly wants to share details of his own trait, feeling unafraid as both of them will soon move together. The trait is called Resurrection. Apparently he can spam the crap out of it by expending points. This is the reason his level shot up to 17, with his skills including physical, elemental, and special resistances. Curious in return, the old friend asks about Seongho's trait, but much to this guy's shock, our boy refuses to delve into it. Rabbit Princess is stunned, but Seongho emphasizes having severe trust issues in life, to the point he hasn't disclosed the information even to his closest ones. He clarifies that he actually really trusts his buddy here but prefers speaking face to face, and instead of feeling mad, the guy actually understands him. As a gift, Rabbit Princess tells our boy to quickly access the auction house again. When Seongho searches it up, he lays his eyes on a special magic metal ring. It's an item obtainable from the tutorial, something that this guy searched the entire block just to get his hands on. In exchange, he only wants 10 points from our boy. Seongho is shocked that this guy is offering a valuable gift like this for free, but the guy wants to show his sincerity and trust for Seongho sharing his identity. By the way, these two met each other way early in the game, going on several missions together. Their bond became close among the veterans, but this kind of niceness is unexpected. Regardless, he's grateful to obtain the ring. The next focus for him is to show his side of sincerity, so our boy lists smoked trout and an owlbear claw onto the auction. Rabbit Princess goes crazy over the sight of them, salivating at the deliciously cooked trout. He spams the accept button, shocked that monsters have already started spawning. But our boy hints that it's because of his trait that he's run into monsters. This is his token of trust. Aside from that, Seongho highlights that though he doesn't mind the two of them meeting or greeting, but in real life, bro has to wear clothes no matter what. And definitely not use that stupid XS bullshit he keeps saying because it draws attention. The guy is chill with that and intends to change his catchphrase to Jas instead, only walking naked when he's alone. Seongho's devastated dealing with this guy's desire to walk around naked in the streets. The perspective switches over to Rabbit Princess, who concludes his call with his buddy and savors his first good meal in a while. The typhoon coincidentally ended up subsiding, and then came bright sunlight, beaming down at him with radiance. The beefy man thought that it was a blessing. It's either that, or his old friend ended up becoming God. Regardless, Seokyeon cannonballed out of the windows like a Power Ranger and squashed one of the zombies' faces into the ground. He's excited to meet his friend, gaining a sense of warmth after a while. Bro chucks the zombie like a ragdoll and has his fun, but then comes a problem. Seokyeon forgot about his own hideout, because on top of all the good skills he has, bro is a shitty navigator, which gives me major Zoro energy from One Piece. 3 days flew by since the typhoon's collapse. Party members in the gym were adapting to the apocalypse. Yuyeon had already reached level 5 and could send dolls to farther locations. Using his paper plane, he sent a letter to Seongho, revealing their interest in moving to a taekwondo studio near his house. There was also news of Kyunghoon and Bora coming together as a couple, and shockingly, Hyungjun managed to reach level 10 with his dedication and unlock the shop. Each time he received such notes, he would further advise his friends by pointing them to useful locations he'd prepared in advance. Then he sends the paper plan back, hoping that the information would help them farm easily like he did. Next, our boy Chance opened the auction house again, recalling that he needs to touch up with Seokyeon, who replies slowly lately. Bro's currently beating the crap out of zombies on his way to Busan. Even in the game, and like in reality, from level 15 and onwards, the required points to level up doubled. This is basically called the Hell level zone, where grinding becomes tough. Seongho pops the status window, recalling how points and levels have a slight ratio to them. In order to hit level 16, he needs to kill maybe 100 zombies. It's not an impossible goal if he focused his efforts on hunting, but in our boy's case, he's got other things to focus on that he's looking forward to. 2 hours passed, and in his shelter, Seongho has received an exceptional mithril knife as a gift from his tiny buddies. The little beetles forged it themselves too, even tossing him the rare ore material they agreed upon. Seongho reminds these tiny dudes that they're just a bunch of beetles, so it's impossible for them to make something like this. His words rage-baited the cute bugs, so he decided to trust them. However, in order to test their skills, Seongho offers them a coin, instructing the beetles to make something with it. The cute baby plucks it in its claws and starts nibbling with its teeth. Within moments, it creates a replica of the knife out of a different material. Bro is just as shocked as I am the beetles are actually skilled. What's impressive is how they sharpened the tiny blade, but couldn't sharpen the bigger one with much finesse. Bro's words literally destroy the confidence of the beetles. Basically, he calls their craft trash. Since they're crying, our boy offers them a chance to explain by scribbling on his board. Because they're in contract, he wants to hear them out. The beetles quickly go up with different markers, marking an illustration of a goblin beating their asses. Because of that, they couldn't complete their craft. Seongho asks about the location of the goblins on the map, so the beetle leader exposes them near the nest. With this information, Seongho assures them that he'll wipe those green fuckers off the map on his next hunt. But if he does that, then the beetles have to do their part of the deal and refine the weapon further. With the terms agreed upon, Seongho intends to even burn the bodies at this point for how generous the bugs are to him. Aside from that, he wants them to take another crafting request separate from the subjugation mission. The beetles are ready to hear him out. Seongho is ecstatic over their friendly relationship and shakes their tiny claws. The beetles had great potential for the future, and Seongho saw that as he continued to farm resources with Dingo. The day ordinarily progressed as zombies grew even stronger than the early game variants. Our boy headed straight for the kill by locating one of them and swinging down at the zombie with a brutal slam. The first hit reduces its head to a blood paste, until the tag of old appears on his club. The surrounding zombies were quick to gather around him as Seongho unleashed his wrath by killing 2 more at once. One of the undead pounced from his rear in an effort to catch him off guard, but Seongho sharply responded to this by swinging all the way back, like he was hitting a home run. By now, killing zombies had become a hobby for him and meant nothing. His main destination is the Eden Villa. After the slaughter, he finally lays open on the fanciful place, and even though it doesn't look that good, it's still better than the hellhole going on in the main city. If the apocalypse hadn't tangled him, even our boy knows he could never afford to be in such a location. The real question bumming him is if Suyeon's even alive. There hasn't been any contact with her, but Kyungjun and Bora seem to be doing well for non-awakeners at least. It's also been officially confirmed that awakeners can't spread the zombie spores to non-awakeners. Our boy isn't really worried about Suyeon, even if she ended up becoming a zombie honestly. Bro is not a simp at all. All he cares about is the location of the villa. This location is in close proximity to my dream. In other words, Kyungjun's own bunker. Then there's the government-built time shelter located nearby too. Seongho instructs his pup to get on his back, because he'll be using the broken elevator to climb up top. The location is fitting for survivors to gather safely, but also the same location where the most amount of conflicts could occur. Climbing all the way to the top, Seongho realizes how exhausting it would be for the average person to do what he just did. The fact that there was an intentional installation of the rope means that Suyeon is the one responsible for safeguarding the place. Walking in the hall, he finds the apartment unit and gives it a knock. A voice from inside roars at him, thinking that he's some other person. Suyeon uses the slider hole to warn the person not to come near as there's a murderer near them. Suddenly, she's shocked to see our boy instead of someone else she was expecting. Seongho greets her and explains that he actually came for the medicine money based on their intended exchange. And while it's a valid reason, it's psychotic to care for something like that in the middle of an apocalypse. The baddie calls him weird, but his weird riz is charming enough for her to invite him inside, as she intends to explain everything regarding the murderer to answer all of Seongho's questions. The moment both of them sat on the couch, things were unveiled with Suyeon dumping crazy information. She was going on and on about her rambling, sometimes going so fast that bro was getting lost. To summarize what happened, the shelter serves as the center zone. 3 other parties live in surrounding zones. There is Party C, composed of 10 people, who wanted to open the time shelter to share the supplies. The remaining 2 parties refused, and suddenly a murderer stabbed someone, appearing on site. Based on the sheer number of party members alone, our boy assumes that the person involved has to be Gyeongjun, with the murderer being one of his own subordinates. As for his ability, it's possible that Gyeongjun requires the creation of a proposal for his mind control ability to truly function. Think of it like a condition, like when Lelouch has to look at someone's eyes to command them in Code Geass. Seongho had to play really dumb with Suyeon, refusing to let her be dragged into this mess. The situation of the killer appearing only after the party's rejection of the offer stands out the most. Party B and Suyeon's side lost members because of the murder. C-Team, on the other hand, didn't lose anyone at all. Then there's the question of why Party C would choose to open the time shelter far sooner than it should be opened. Seongho is unsure, but he learns about Suyeon's healing trait. She can heal minor injuries, but it's good enough. For a person like her who is in a support position, hunting is going to be really difficult. Support players don't have any level ups, which makes them realize that the leader of the Party C is not a combat type awakened and has some other kind of trait. Such a person would require the need of materials to level up faster, or at least this is our boy's current theory. She actually thinks he might be right, because the leader's strength doesn't indicate the strength of his followers. With that confirmed, Seongho also adds that the group must share some personal burdens, forcing the leader to take drastic measures. Their theories line up perfectly, but Seongho is really curious why Suyeon hasn't met up with her teammates yet. Apparently she had plans for today, not to go farming, but rather receive someone for a confession. This is genuinely strange. Suyeon highlights how her group is full of idiots, which is why she lost her fuse when opening the door. They're the types of people who only prioritizes one need above all, the ones who only care about lust. This is a unique situation not even our boy was ready to hear, but Suyeon thinks it is understandable, as her teammates aren't really bad people. She asks about Seongho's intentions from here on out, who shares his plans of scouting the time shelter. The idea seems dangerous to her, but he assures Suyeon that it'll be an observation mission and nothing more. The zombie waves are also going to make sure that the whole team isn't summoned around the area, making it safe. Before leaving, Bro hands her a golden luminescent stone as a gift. It's a substitute for a candle, and it's an item he unlocked using the shop. She's stunned with his progress, while Seongho promises her that if his missions go smoothly, he'll return the debt he has to her with interest. In the next scene, Party C and its leader are situated at the time shelter site, discussing the purification process. His men reveal the killer's activity of eliminating another B-team member. Survivors have been moving with supplies, but they're confident that the B-team zone will be eradicated soon. As for the A-team, they're curiously not doing anything at all. To make them act, he orders them to kill another person from their party to force them to act. As for their whereabouts, the A-team has been difficult to track lately, but they've managed to spot a female member, that being Suyeon, heading towards Eden Plaza. Fixating on her as their next target, Kyungjun uses his ability to command them to kill her. As for the other guy they've been looking into, the man is a mystery with his identity unconfirmed. The assistant even lowers his head in apology, but Kyungjun is pissed off with the state of things. He knows for a fact that this guy is in Busan, but the big question is where. Kyungjun wants to find that guy quickly, because lately, he hasn't been getting any points even when his linked members are making kills. His trait has that crucial flaw, and if he doesn't fix it soon, then the player known as the Unknown, the same guy who possessed paralysis poison even before the apocalypse arrived, would swallow him whole. Basically, bro has been traumatized by Songho and needs to see a therapist fast. He also wants to reach level 15 by a certain date of the auction summit, so the other regional leaders don't treat him lightly. All this dude cares about is his image, when suddenly his men bring him a bunch of zombies. Kyungjun praises them as he takes a Molotov and tosses the bottle just underneath the horde. The bottle makes its way to them until they're all incinerated. This nets up 40 points, boosting his level to 9, but there's still 6 more levels he must overcome. Kyungjun commands everyone at once to follow 3 important tasks. The first task is to locate the lock mechanism of the time shelter. The second requires capturing more zombies so that he could level up further. And finally, the third is the one he has deep resentment for, to track down the player Unknown. While he's busy barking orders, our boy is happy to see this guy riled up from his portal. He hopes Kyungjun isn't too impatient. After all, Suyeon is gonna help him, and the hunter who is trying to look for Seongho will become the hunted. In the next scene, things play out exactly how Suyeon expected. A dude gets down on his knee to confess to her, while she's pissed off that bro's worried about these things in the middle of a murderer on a freaking loose. I mean, secure the bad bitch, am I right, guys? The man on a mission has an ability called clairvoyance, so he thought things would be safe, but she calls it a reckless maneuver. After all, it's no surprise that one of their own teammates ended up dying during one of the farming missions. The guy argues that the killer is supposed to be in the B party's area, so they're safe, but she genuinely finds it a chore to deal with him when nothing is confirmed yet. He tries to be desperate about the situation, begging to be her boyfriend, and yup, immediate turn-off from Suyeon. She turns away, refusing to hear him out any further, but this guy continues to be obsessed with her. Suddenly, Light Yagami writes his name in the death note and he feels a sudden ache. Suyeon is on high alert because this is exactly a sign that the killer is near them. The stupid clairvoyant ability this guy had was wrong a second time, and they needed to move fast. The killer is supposed to have some kind of life-tracking ability, so they need to leave the plaza fast without a forceful deathmatch activation. Bro tries to be useful for once to try and track the killer's location, but it's already game over as the man with the knife is already walking up to them. Suyeon continues to grill this guy for being such a waste of time that he brings bad luck everywhere he goes. But the good thing is that they confirmed a crucial detail, that being the same outfit of the killer as the one C-Team uses. The murderer initiates the death field, commanding it open as he casts a domain expansion, entrapping them all in a deathmatch. Now they're stuck, and with no combat skills, they need to hide fast. Unfortunately, the killer is obviously a combat type, so he's gonna nail them immediately. Suyeon scolds him for not knowing the basic detail that a killer can't run at the start of a deathmatch. As for hiding, Suyeon has a plan. She wants him to prepare an anti-iron death flashlight for now, because if things are going as she's hoping, then her one and only hope will come to save them. But for now, the murderer who stole Gordon Ramsay's knife lunges to slash her throat, but Suyeon is a badass who dodges the first swing, immediately exploiting the opening by using the flashlight and blinding this guy right in his damn eyes. He's temporarily stunned, but Suyeon gets far too ahead of herself and forgets the part where she's supposed to run. The result? The girl is suddenly smacked the fudge out with a punch that sends her flying. She crashes several feet back, spewing out blood from her mouth, realizing how stupid she was to celebrate too early. The killer approaches her to finish the job while she begs the other rat to help her. The same dude who was begging to be a good boyfriend ran off like a coward, which only makes Suyeon even more happy that she didn't accept his shitty confession. As he runs off, she thinks about the fleeting nature of life and how she's inches away from death as the killer raises his blade to end her. Suddenly, a voice soothes her as Seongho asks why she's closing her eyes. Our hero has popped up front to protect her, bashing the knife away. Next, Seongho hammers this dude with a crazy kick to the gut, giving him the same treatment as he did to a woman. Suyeon watches as our boy offers his hand, reminding her that she's not supposed to think about dying here. In the next scene, he lets her patch herself up, confirming that the C-Team's leader is indeed a psychic type with the ability to brainwash others. That's also the same reason why his party is so loyal to him. And as for her wounds, they're slowly healing thanks to decent recovery. Seongho also shares that the other guy who tried running away ended up getting killed as bait. She tries thinking about Han Song's death, but he tells her not to dwell on anything meaningless. Their current problem is dealing with a killer who has insane regeneration and durability, to the point even Suyeon is questioning if they've got no solution. Seongho confirms that usually this is the end goal. Death matches are supposed to end with an encounter against the killer, and even if the death field disappears, zombies end up zooming in from every direction so they could block the exit. But even then, there's an interesting bug, and the same reason why he brought her all the way here. There's a sky bridge connecting several buildings, and the same as when the first deathmatch was deployed, the killer's excitement will reach its peak soon. His murderous intent is shown in his blazing red eyes. Each time the death field shrinks in accordance to that excitement, a gap will open to break the barrier. There's only one chance, and Seongho wants Suyeon to escape during that single moment when he gives her the signal. While her safety is guaranteed, she wonders if he's going to be fine dealing with the murderer all alone. To that, our boy genuinely has no choice but to finish the job. Every killer gets assigned a special skill to prevent changes in variables, and Seongho wants to make sure this one doesn't escape. First, he wants to trigger the bug, because if they can't go outside, their plans will mean nothing. Shortly after, he sends Suyeon to the 3rd floor, waiting to confront the killer personally on the 1st floor. Here, he could sense the thumping in his heart growing louder and louder, meaning the killer was nearby. He is happy to take him on, but shockingly, Bro doesn't see anyone. Suddenly, a destructive attack hits him from the side, with Seongho barely blocking with his shield. The special ability that this killer received just so happened to be wall phasing, making it impossible to hide as Seongho's final showdown with the killer begins.